Hey, look, Menulog.
Anyway, look, we have one last moan. Have a listen.
I don't think many people would be able to pick out the moans in League of Legends, but hey, you guys were coined to try and do it and you got it done. So I'd like to welcome my two lovely gentlemen here to Menulog Mealtime. We've got Mark and Rusty who are going to be joining us here today. So hi Mark, it's good to see you being able to join us here on the LCO. So before we start getting into Mark and Rusty talking about this series, we're going to start talking about Menulog Mealtime. And you guys at home can be a part of the Menulog Mealtime by getting your menu pogs in chat. One of you can win a $30 voucher to Menulog so you guys can get dinner for the family, dinner for everybody, and see if you guys can munch down as we watch our final series for today here in the LCO. So lads, I like doing what Mac used to do, you know, giving you guys a little bit of a scenario and trying to figure out what you guys would do on Menulog. So the scenario here is a first date. You've got $30 on Menulog. Actually, well, let's jack it up to 60. Jack it up to 60. You're trying to impress your first date. Mark, we'll go with you first.
All right, so where are we going on the date? We go wherever we want.
You're inside watching a movie.
Inside, eh? Oh,
Yeah.
oh, mate, a lot of popcorn. Just give me all that popcorn. Fills you up.
Right.
Covered in
60 bucks
butter.
of popcorn.
Love a lot of salt as well. Gets me right and ready to go for a bit of League of Legends, eh?
Okay, all right, Rusty, what about you, mate?
Well, $60 isn't that much popcorn these days, is it?
True.
I don't know, man. For a first date, you're trying to impress someone. I would say for that price, let's go something messy and finger foody for fun, right? Like, known in advance. You don't want them to show up in something nice to do finger food, but yeah, I don't know.
You're just going to get your hands nice and dirty and all the menu log. Just get amongst it. And I mean, you'll see what people are like when you have to force them to use their hands rather than cutlery at that point. So might be able to vet them nice and early on. Okay, all right. I respect that. I don't know if I'm vibing more towards what Mark was saying or what you're saying, Rusty. I feel like they're two sides of the same coin, to be honest. You know, you're just trying to figure out how people do enjoy their, their popcorn or their finger food. So either way, you guys at home can be a part of the Menulog Mealtime. As I said, with the menu pogs in chat, win a $30 voucher and you guys can get dinner as well. So that is it for us here on the Menulog Mealtime. Rusty, let's start talking about this bracket. A 3-0 to stay out here for Pentanet.gg means they have a date with Chiefs tomorrow. And Chiefs, Peace, they drop down in this lower bracket.
Yeah, very rough performance today, you'd have to say, from Peace. But really, we should just be celebrating Pentanet.gg and how convincing and how clean they actually did look. But congratulations, PGG. You played so well. You've been promoted into a Chiefs bracket. Thankfully for them, of course, it is still double elimination for the top half of the bracket. So the loser tomorrow doesn't get eliminated. But that is an extremely, extremely exciting game to look forward to. And then, of course, our best of 5 that we have coming up today, the winner goes up against Peace, who went down 0-3 today. So lots on the line for Peace now, reeling after that.
I mean, it's kind of wild when you look at this bracket and you look at the best of 5s we've got.
Hey.
Hey, Mac.
It was me the whole time.
It was.
I got yous though. I had just going, didn't I?
You really did. I was trying to figure out questions here for Mark instead of Mac, but I'm glad that you decided to join us here, Mac. But I mean, Mac, looking at that bracket, I mean, so far, I think it's kind of a bit rough for a lot of these teams in this elimination bracket because they are looking at Peace tomorrow, who are probably going to be angry gaming.
Yeah, it was odd, right? Like, I thought Peace, there was moments where they had, like, some really good-looking things going for them, but then it's just like the comp seemed to let them down almost every single time, and then when they started to get some comps looking pretty decent, they just needed to execute, and that execution was just not there. That first game especially felt kind of backwards and very, very difficult. So Peace, they were really on that back foot from the first game, and it definitely bled into those next 2 games as well. Hence why we ended up with that 3-0.
Exactly. Well, next week they've got a little bit of time to see if they can rectify some of the mistakes in that lower bracket. But now it's time for us to start talking about Order and the Direwolves, who have a full best of 5 to go head-to-head against each other. Loser is going to go out of the playoffs. Winner goes forward in towards that Peace series. Before we start talking about it, we heard about the players, so let's hear from them.
I think the potential of our team is incredibly high. I don't think we're even close to reaching it right now.
Oris is literally like a 4-team region. I don't know like what the other 4 teams are really doing there right now. So, I mean, I guess it's like fun that Direwolves get playoff experience, but they're gonna get crushed in the first round. So it's like whatever, they're there for a week.
Like, I respect Direwolves because we've literally lost to them twice. If you make a mistake, they will punish you. I think Kiyose, his champ pool like Ari, LeBlanc, Cassio, those type of champions, I feel like are the scariest.
Bio's been powering up a bit recently, so I think Zoranus should be a bit more careful, because I know he's been a bit disrespectful with some of his picks. So I think Bio's going to tear him a new one. I mean, I think no matter what bot lane Direwolves put forward, they should be ready to sub out once they get destroyed in the first few games. You're going to like jump out of playoffs, and you'll wonder why you're even there in the first place, so get ready for Monday.
Oh my god, Corporal, you might want to turn that one down, brother, because that is some spice that comes through on that head-to-head. He was not pulling any punches going into that one, Mac. And I mean, I guess it's kind of put up or shut up, right, going into this series. He talked a lot of smack about Direwolves even being in the playoffs, and now he's going to go into a full best-of-5 and hopes that his team performs.
Yeah, look, at least I think a little shining light for them is there is, of course, going to be a slight shuffle in that roster for Direwolves today. We'll see that, of course, once we look at those lineups. But it might make Corporal's life that little bit easier because, you know, has he prepared for a certain player, or are they just going to have the same old thing going? Either way, I do agree it is going to be a difficult affair for Order because Direwolves have been looking so damn good over the last couple of weeks. Their chemistry, their coordination, everything just seems to be working out. And Order, you have to say the opposite, right? They're not as strong as what they looked at the start of the split.
Yeah, and I mean, Rusty, you know, looking at this Order roster, we looked at these guys to be able to come in and kind of make a sense. We're expecting these guys to be a top 4, and now coming in towards the playoffs might be lacking a little bit of that form, but they're still looking to try and level up because throughout the entirety of the split, they talked about being a best-of-5 team.
Yeah, exactly, and it wasn't just them that were talking about Order being a best-of-5 team, it was the rest of the league, right? So anyone that you ask about this series today, they would say you would expect Order to do better in best-of-5s. They aren't necessarily designed to be a BO1 team where you could look at their opponents and say maybe they are best-of-1 experts who might struggle come the entire series. But to Mac's point as well here, Luke, I do think that the reality is Order haven't been consistent at all. But we do know that they have been testing their limits a fair amount during the regular season and trying to do a lot of different things and just see if it lands.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what their bot lane can really put up because obviously a lot of people do talk about Puma as being one of those top tier ADCs and especially coming into a full best of 5 where he can flex his muscles and really try and make a big diff in that bottom lane. But Mac, on the other side of the rift today is going to be the Direwolves, and this is something that you alluded to just before. They've made a bit of a switch up in their support role to open up game number 1 here. Bulldog is back once again here for the Direwolves.
Oh, oh, oh! Can you hear that? The dog is back, ladies and gentlemen! And look, I don't know if it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. We have complimented Shinky over the last couple of weeks. Him and Frost have been playing just so well. It seems like there's just this chemistry from, you know, playing in the past that has carried across to this year. But Bulldog, I heard that he's like top 8 at the moment or something like that in Challenger, so he's still been putting in the hard yards, and you know he knows what's going on. So I believe he's been cracking with them all week this week, so they've got something up their sleeves. But the question is, how is this team going to work in a best of 5, right? Because they didn't get the experience last year. None of these players had the chance to come into a, multiple game series. And this is their time to shine. It's their time to show what they're made of. Issue is Order, a lot of those players have already played these best of 5, so they know how to change it up and they know how to hold that mental in between games.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the tale that we're going to start to weave here, right, Rusty, is the fact that Order, they've got a lot of experience in these best of 5s. They've got international experience across their roster. They've got championships underneath their belts. But looking across at this Direwolves roster, they're all freshies. They're all brand new to this playoff scenario, and how they're going to play in a best of 5 is really going to be interesting for us to see because this is do or die for them. They have to win this best of 5 to even stay in the playoffs.
Yeah, it'll be a huge testament to the resolve of the players if they're able to come into this BO5 and look good from game number 1. Because the reality is, this is a roster built from teams or from players that finished between, I think, 6th to 8th at best, but they all had so much potential that people said they could be a playoffs team. The individual players were good enough to be more specific. They actually just plopped them all into one roster. Welcome to playoffs. This is literally the deep end, do or die. So there is a whole lot of pressure there behind them. You're right.
Yeah, and I think, pressure in the mid lane, even towards the jungle as well, is something that we're going to be talking about a lot, right, Mac? Because we looked at Kiyose and we looked at Gudo, and these two guys together have been absolute menaces for the Direwolves, really being able to pull them to a lot of these victories. So I think this is going to be a big highlight for us to look at this series. Yeah, look, Gudo, I feel like he has definitely picked up the pace over the last couple of weeks and definitely helps out Kiyose a lot of the time. Even I guess through the whole split, when Kiyose was succeeding, he had a lot of help from Gudo there as well. So mid-jungle, it's been a conversation all split, and it's essentially like which mid-jungle is going to be coming in better. Because if you look at the other side, if you look at who they're up against with both Kevi and Kisei in mid,
they worked really well at the start of the split, and something's gone wrong there. So I'm not too sure what it is. I'm not 100% on it, but coming into playoffs, they really need to bring their A game.
And we might be able to figure that out as we get in towards that best of 5. Before we get into that, we have to bring Kitty back here on the desk and have a chat to her about how she thinks this series is going to go. So Kitty, Direwolves versus Order, what are your feelings about this one?
This is going to be a close match. From the regular season, we saw results of, I believe it was Order being 11-10, while Dials was 10-11. So they're quite literally one win away from each other. There's going to be a lot of tough and close games for tonight, but let's get Kevy's insight on what he thinks for the series tonight. So Kevy, second best of 5 in this, second best of 5 for the series tonight. How are you feeling?
Well, honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of playing in the losers bracket, you know, like it's just one elimination, like one shot. So there's a lot on the line. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit nervous, but I think we'll win. So.
That's totally understandable. You know, no one wants to get one shot on stage, so hopefully we don't see any of that tonight. So having played a bit of best of 5 series in your previous years, what actually differs from those best of series compared to these regular season games?
Honestly, like, I mean, I think, did I play 1 or 2? I can't remember, but like, the most important thing is like being able to adapt, you know, like in best of 1s, you can like chase like one win or whatever, but like, you have to have like multiple strategies and like multiple drafts like coming in, and I think we've like prepared that in scrims, and I'm excited to show that.
Well, something I'm quite curious about is that we've seen various team comps coming out of Dials throughout the regular split, so how is Order going to shut down Dials' win con tonight?
Honestly, like we've discussed it a lot. I think we have like a really good plan and draft. Like we've got some bands that you guys will see, and yeah, I mean like they can always like do some like wacky thing like R5 Zoranus, like Lulu top, or like whatever it is. But I think we're prepared pretty well.
Well, hopefully we do see those bands come out for tonight's games, and hopefully you're feeling better, Kevy, and best of luck in your series.
Yeah, thank you.
Bit of nerves there coming in from Kevy, as he did say. Obviously, this lower bracket is a bit of a spicy place to be, and I think Rusty, you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? Where it's like they have all these preparations, but you've only got one shot at it, and if you falter here, then it's kind of that's it. You're out of the playoffs.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things that I noticed even from the last series, right? Where it feels like game 1 is a really strong indicator for what the rest of the series could bring. So for a lot of these players that will be feeling the nerves coming into a best of 5, add the pressure of it being elimination this time around, add the pressure of having rookies or very new, fresh players to playoffs, and that first game suddenly becomes do or die potentially, right, for the mental of them.
Well, I guess that's kind of, you know, a double-edged sword, right, Mac? Because, you know, I know some players who have come in a whole lot of nerves in these big stage games, but also players that come in a little bit unshackled might, you know, be able to pop off.
Yeah, well, look, they are here to prove themselves, and I know that there's a lot of confidence on specific individuals, especially on Direwolves. Look, Bulldog, he's got another point to prove as well, because he doesn't get this chance since he got subbed out. You know, he hasn't had that many games, and when he did, he was playing in jungle, but now he's straight back into that support role, which is his role, right? So he can only really shine, he can only exceed, and then look, we're looking at Kiyosei as well. The eyes have to be on that man, because he is always the man that makes it work for Direwolves.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. And Kitty, I believe that you've got another player to interview.
Well, you don't only need to have eyes on him, we also get to chat with him before his match tonight. So, Kyosei, how are you feeling about to play your first best of series ever? Wait, no, not best of series, sorry, playoffs.
Yeah, all good. Like, pretty much a mixture of emotions. Like, it's kind of like majority of the team, for everyone actually, it's the first time ever playing a playoff, so like, you know, we're excited, we're nervous, we don't know what's going to come, so yeah.
We definitely don't know what's going to come as well, but Dials is currently 2-1 in the head-to-head against Order, and with Kevy back on the Order roster, how will DW guarantee the win for tonight?
We'll just do what we do best, we'll continue with it. I honestly don't think there'll be a big difference between Kevy and Max. I think the team identity kind of remains the same. So yeah, I'll be excited to see what they bring today.
And talking about people coming back, we actually see Bulldog being subbed back in onto the starting roster, and Corporal had some harsh words in that head-to-head video we showed previously before this interview. So do you have anything to respond to that, and do you have anything that you want to say to Bulldog?
I don't really see the interview, but it's kind of like, you know, interesting that he was like, you know, smack talking when they lost the last 2 times. But yeah, I think Bulldog, just like Shinky, would be pretty good for our team. And yeah, we just want to beat them today.
Well, before we leave, can we all get a happy birthday in chat for Kyosei tonight, because it is his birthday, and best of luck in your series, Kyosei.
Thank you, appreciate it. See ya.
Happy birthday to Mr.
Happy
Kyosei there.
birthday.
Happy birthday, playing his first playoff series as well. Super excited. Also clapping back the Corporal with just straight facts as well. I think that's always the best time to respond to someone is, listen, we got the 2-1 head-to-head, baby. You can talk all the smack you want in a head-to-head, but, results are sitting there on the paper. And I think, Rusty, it is good to see that Kyosei is coming in a little bit confident. Obviously, they've got those nerves going into this best of 5, but having confidence in yourself is always key.
I mean, he has to, right? Like, even just looking at how these teams match up head-to-head, I would have to say Kyosei is a big expectation for the side of Direwolves to show up big, right? If he doesn't, you really do feel like their core identity starts to go lacking. So it's exciting, and it's good for us that Kitty goes into the interview and Mr. Smiles comes in and he's still smiling, right? Like, he's not showing crazy amounts of nerves. He's still ready to play.
Yeah, it just means that we're going to get a big show here on Summoner's Rift. I'm excited to see that as well. Obviously, do have the side selection going forward as well. Order do pick up the blue side. So, Mac, it seems like it's a night of blues here for everyone. We're really wanting to try and get that first pick and champ select.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it works out, because what I'm seeing so far, having a look at a couple of stats, I think it's like 100% win rate for red side so far. So, that's a little rough. Maybe red side's that little bit stronger, or maybe PGG just playing on that red side, of course, makes it look like the stats are skewed like that. Of course, there's only been 3 games to look at so far, right?
Yeah, maybe once we get deeper into the playoffs, those stats might be able to show us a little bit more here. But, ladies and gentlemen, before we start getting into the series at that time, once again, for the Dare fan vote, you guys can use your channel points. You can predict who you think is going to win for this game. You can do that for every game as well as we go through this entire series. So I'm sure you guys that are peddling only a few hundred points are certainly looking to try and get this as a game 5, so you can try and get those stonks rolling out. Mac's doing his right now as he gets into it, so he's going to try and get his channel points going forward. A quick channel point check, Mac. Mac, how many you got?
I got 11.4.
11?
11.
Yeah, I've got 11. I've got 11,400, and I'm hoping they don't go down the drain with this vote. So there we go.
We'll figure it out a little bit later on. I mean, I think at this point, the fact that you've decided to put 11,000 points on somebody means that you're pretty confident. But looking at these so far, Kitty, you're going to go with the Direwolves here. Rusty, we'll get to you in a moment. But Kitty, you're going with the Direwolves this one.
I am going with Dials tonight because history doesn't speak facts. We do have the 2-1 in the head-to-head for these two teams, and I believe that Dials have a more stable team players compared to Order, where they're not as consistent as the players on DW. And from Kyosei's interview, I'm giving this as a birthday present.
Oh, a birthday present. So you're calling it a pity vote now?
Oh,
That's
well,
it's
not a pity vote. I'm sorry,
what I heard.
but it's my...
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
I didn't mean... I'm so sorry, but, take it however you guys want.
On that
It's
point
okay.
as well, quickly, Luke, I just want to say, if I was hosting, I would have actually sang happy birthday to Kyosei. So you should probably
I'm just
do
not
that.
that extra.
You should do it.
I'll do it. I'll
Right
send
now.
him a tweet. All
Okay.
right, right now.
All right.
Happy birthday
to
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Constance and Kyosei. Because Champ Select is ready, so let's go.
Oh, that was real quick. That was real quick, Rusty. Now,
thank
look.
you.
So this I don't want to put you on the spot here, but this is my first time, so you really got to help me out here.
Yeah.
So what do all these things mean? Quickly, talk to me about it.
I mean, you know what a lot of these things mean, Mac. You've been here all split, but it is your first time casting. So welcome to the playoffs. Welcome to Order vs. Direwolves. This is also,
Thank you.
we didn't get a chance to talk about our predictions too much, Mac, but what I will say is I think most of us went for at least a 3-1 series. So when we get into this one, no one is genuinely expecting it to be some crazy 3-0 stomp. I had 3-2, even though I went for Orders. So we're all buckling down for a huge series ahead of us, Mac. But to quickly recap a couple of the picks that we have seen in order of priority here, Hecarim is one of the biggest reasons I think the blue side is a super prevalent pick choice right now for competitive League of Legends.
Yeah.
Hecarim wasn't banned. And one interesting point for both of these teams is that there's a lot of target bans that you tend to see come out, right? Against Direwolves Karma because it's flexible, Ari away from Kyosei, Lee Sin away from Gudo as well, even though Kevi is a very good Lee Sin, you have to take that from him. And then you've got Evelyn on the other side also, so there's a lot of really strong champions that get left open in order are going to snatch away that Hecarim.
Well, that's it, right? Like, they don't want to play Kevi on Evelyn. The man has been an absolute machine all split. When they do get it, However, let's start to talk about like this composition, right? I'm looking. MF is picked up. We saw that picked up earlier by Praedyth. Did that get a little buff in last patch, or are we just going to see a bit more of that globally?
I don't really think MF got anything substantial. It's more, I think, a shift in the meta a little bit, right? Away from champions that MF would have a really hard time into, like the Gwen, like the Xin Zhao. We're not seeing as much of that. And also with the rise of Xayah, it feels like it's one of those matching champions, right? That does decently well into the Xayah pick. You both just kind of go lethality, look for team fight, area control, whereas Xayah can do that with the feathers. She always does lethality builds. Misfortune can do the same thing. We saw it used to a pretty high level of success, I will say, from Praedyth, from the side of Pentanet.gg. This is definitely a different kettle of fish, however. I don't think we've seen Puma playing this one ever. Yeah.
Okay, now are we going to see another target ban here on to Kyosei because they got rid of the LeBlanc, which is understandable. He hasn't had a chance yet, and Ari right out of there as well, so not leaving it open and forcing him to something a little bit different. You know, maybe a chance of like a Lysandra pick, or is that not going to work with the comp that they're currently going for?
I think getting rid of the Rise and the LeBlanc opens up a lot of like scaling mid lane mage picks as well for Kyosei, so it could be like a Corki Victor type angle. Could also be the Zilean. That is flexible towards mid lane. There's only one reason you would go for an early Zilean rotation, that is because it is flexible.
Yeah.
It works nicely with the Hecarim as well so far in their composition. So 2 more mid lane bans do go to Kyosei, but we know that he has an expansive champion pool. Can play a lot of, just in general, strong control mages anyway. Can easily default to like the Syndra. Definitely is what I would be looking at. But just for the side of Direwolves here with their red side 4th pick, they've gone straight for the Camille. And this composition is flexible in that it could go the way of a split push comp, or it could go for a Galio mid for Kyosei. You know, he is like the Karma mindset type of player, right? Galio certainly fits the bill in that you're playing more for the team fight, more for your team, and works brilliantly with a Camille comp.
Okay, so we're going to have Gwen top, have the old Zill in mid for order. Are we happy with this composition? Haven't seen a Braum in a hot minute, but I know, look, it could be decent for some kind of disengage, especially with that volley over on Direwolves. Oh, we got, okay, a bit of Silas in mid.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
so the Silas is actually a big pick here, I do think. You see a Zilean, you get to pick Silas. You effectively are a damage-dealing Zilean now, right, for your own composition. So there's going to be a lot of... We've seen this before. I think it might actually have been these two teams. I think it was at least Direwolves, but there was a Kindred and a Silas, and no one was dying. It was just Venn diagrams of life.
Yes.
Similar thing with the Zilean and the Silas and how they're going to be interacting, because the Braum lock-in basically confirms Zilean is going mid, which gives Kyosei the opportunity to counter-pick. He doesn't go straight up for like a hard lane counter though, Mac. It is much more of like a utility. Can push, but team fight type of counter-pick.
Yep. I'm thinking this is probably one of the weirder bot lane matchups I've seen in a while. Like, we had some quite odd ones, let's say, to put it lightly, in that first series of the day. But this one, it's just something I feel like we haven't seen all split. And it, of course, just goes to show that, you know, the new patch going into playoffs means things get spicy, things get different. And both these teams, of course, just playing for their lives. Direwolves with, look, less experience in these playoff stages, but Order, I believe they have had a bit of a rough time leading into this, so they really need to start strong, and they need to say a statement, don't they?
Yeah, we need a big start here for, honestly, for both of these teams, right? You want to see some consistency from Order to kick off the BO5. You want to see Direwolves, a team that doesn't go to playoffs very often. These players in particular don't go to playoffs, getting their first stint on it. You want to see a positive start for them, even if it's a loss. You want to see the type of loss where you can say they can work with that. That's really what you're after here for both of these teams. And just quickly as well to the Braum point that you brought up in Champ Select, Mac.
Yep.
I do have my reservations with every Braum pick ever on planet Earth from beginning to end.
Okay.
I'm not sold on any Braum pick unless it is like a super clutch counter into like an Ornn type of comp top lane. But it's just for the Xayah, it feels like, and that you can stop the feathers. So I'm not sold. I think that is just they didn't have a good option, so they went for it.
Let's see if it pays off. Of course, we are going to be jumping on into the game. And I believe we have a bit of a legend as well to have a chat to. We got Series here for the coach interview. Now, of
Thanks,
course,
Mac.
how you doing, mate? How you doing going into playoffs?
No, I'm doing well. Cheers.
Oh, that's good. Now, look, I have a couple of questions. There's an elephant in the room. I heard the boys are a bit under the weather going into playoffs. Do you want to make a statement on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, more than half of our team came down with COVID recently, and it's affected them. But by no means will it interfere with our ability to win this game. We're definitely going to win the series and give them the opportunity to rest ahead of the harder teams going forward. It is what it is. It's unfortunate. It's kind of affected our ability to play complete sets throughout this week. But aside from that, I think we'll still look to win.
Well, that was actually my follow-up question as well. It was like, how has it affected your practice and how has it affected the confidence as well? Because, look, I know it's been hard. The boys, I heard like some are getting through it, some are, just getting it as well. So it's kind of a bit all up and down for everyone, right?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, some people are at different stages. Whereas, like Kevy, for example, we had to sub him out for Maximize. That's no secret. With him having COVID being the main reason, he's recovering very well. Whereas, like other people just got it and they're experiencing the worst symptoms now, and so they're gonna struggle the most. But they're all really strong mentally. They'll get through it. Unfortunately, like I said, we've had to scrim shorter sets because sometimes people can't maintain focus or it's a little bit too rough. Yeah. But yeah, we're working with what we have. We're still confident that we're going to win tonight.
All right, very good. Now, thank you, Series. We'll let you get away and have a quick old geeze at the game.
Thanks, mate.
It's always good to hear from Series there. But look, it's a little unfortunate that, of course, there's been some health issues going into this game. But do you want to catch me up on anything that's actually gone down here, Rusty?
I mean, so far in this game, we've seen a pretty quiet start. Both teams are going to be doing their blue to red side, basically full clears. Hecarim loves a good full clear, so that should come as no surprise. 6 camps into a potential gank, especially when they're pathing to their red last, right? So they have a little bit more uptime on the buff on the map. Kyosei just really wants to lose mid lane real quick, so he's going to tank a turret shot. I just want to quickly expand on support because I had to cut myself off for the interview, Mac.
Yep.
And the Braum pick in particular. So Braum as a champion is usually picked for one of 2 reasons. One of them is that your E utility is super clutch, right? You have a composition where putting the door up is game-changing. And that is something like if the enemy team has an Ornn and you can put the door up to stop that combo from coming through, stopping a team fight engage. That could be game-winning just from one button. The other option is if the enemy team has a boatload of melee champions that you can get a lot of stocks on for hitting your passive stun to be able to actually provide crowd control for your comp that doesn't really have it. This is one of those games where I think that Braum has value because it provides stuns for the team, but now you're kind of adding team play as a reliance for the Braum pick where things like just chucking a champion out there, right, like a Leona, could still just provide the stuns themselves. That's why it feels a little bit off for me and could potentially just be another champion.
Okay. Well, let's talk junglers for a moment because we've just seen full clear blue to red side for both, and Bio, he's really playing a dangerous game here. We are going to see the aggro straight onto him, and it looks like he's going to fall to the Ignite. Big plays coming through. Goodo, he's going to get out with his life as well. So great little trade to come through, but Direwolves taking first blood.
Yeah, that's a huge play from the Direwolves. I mean, for a couple of reasons, right? One, it's expected. You know that both junglers are full clearing towards their opposing sides of the map, so you'd have to expect as Bio that they're going to be near top lane around this time in the game. That was a little bit delayed from Goodo in how he actually got that gank off. Perhaps Bio was expecting he's already reset or recalled. Perhaps he's getting onto the map on bot side after a full clear. That's a tragic ward. Nice hook.
Okay, straight in for a little bit of a skirmish. Looks like it's just going to be some traded damage. Puma going to be forced down a little bit further back as well, so it has to pop that pot just to try to, maintain a little bit of HP here and still be able to hang around to clear the wave before it, of course, crashes. Are we going to see a couple of resets coming through? Looks like we will.
Yeah, we are going to see the resets. I mean, effectively, it's just going to be trading. Bot lane's just about nullifying and kind of scaling up into their first item spikes, of course, because both are going lethality, though, Mac. They have very early and powerful item spikes when they get them. Even just a serrated Dirk purchase, Misfortune able to hit a Q and suddenly the lane's over. Pipe of strength, just for Bulldog as well, and for Corporal. There's going to be no aftershocks down in bottom lane, so there's actually a bunch of squishier champions by default. And a lot of potential for kills down there on those early item spikes.
It's like Goodo's just hanging around, hovering here at mid. However, we got Braum rotating across as well, so Corporal seems to be fully aware. A couple of pings everywhere over towards that bot side of mid, and now it looks like they are just going to try to show face, clear out that wave, and then disengage.
Yeah, Kyosei just really asking for help to force in a clear. It feels like the fact that Bulldog is staying here is odd. Because now this is just a bunch of waves spent playing mid lane. Bot gets isolated in a 1v1 almost, but this time around it feels like it's about forcing priority for the Drake to be hit, but Kyosei's got no teleport and no health.
Okay.
So it does make you wonder if Order can contest.
It's all about that mid prio, right? Now, Drake's getting pretty low already. We got Kevy, who is thinking about it, but there's just way too many members of Direwolves there, so of course that Earth Drake is just going to be going to Direwolves. So a very good start considering Direwolves going into this were the underdogs.
Yeah, without a doubt. This doesn't seem like they've missed a beat. You know, 6 minutes into this one, every step has been correct. They're able to get the Drake. Again, Puma just very happy farming in bottom lane. Maybe a bit of extra experience for the AD of Order, something that they'll be pretty stoked with. But at the end of the day, it is just going to be a Drake secured, first blood secured as well for the Direwolf side. You can see the CS difference growing in top as well, Mac.
Yeah.
And Zoranus just playing with his food, honestly, mechanically speaking. A couple of very cheeky little moves up there in top lane.
Yeah, solo laners as well, really starting to pop level 6. So ult's starting to become online. See if that plays a factor shortly. Missing things coming out at up top. And again, it seems like Order, they just can't seem to find any sort of prio here. So it's just farming under the turret, Puma, making sure he doesn't miss too much CS. And again, Direwolf's going to be able to get away with another free reset. So yeah, I guess in terms of the lanes, it seems to be going mostly Direwolf's favored, except for down in bot. So, you know, in terms of that CS, we got Puma, he's still leading.
Yeah, Puma's definitely one of the better farmers as well in the LCO in general. Loves a good red dot syndrome. Just a couple of things as well. We should hit some business before we get into the nitty-gritty of the game.
Okay.
We haven't really spoken too much about compositions as a whole. I got very distracted by the Braum rant. It happens. My bad. My bad. Direwolves as a comp have a lot of flexibility in how they can play out the game beyond just laning phase. So one thing to look at for these guys is that they have the potential to 1-3-1. They have Zoranus that can split push in side lanes, right? They have a Silas that can play 4 sides himself, can also you know, go for a 3-2 type of lane assignment, play with the Camille. So they have some really nice flexibility in that respect. And then the 3 stack of Direwolves, really tough to kill. Right, you've got Volibear who can become completely unstoppable with the ultimate, Nautilus who is just a tank and can play peel pretty well, and Xayah who has one of the best self-peeling kits in League of Legends. So they're very hard to deal with. If Direwolves get a lead in their side lanes, that's definitely one thing to look at, but also the potential of a 5v5.
Ooh, potential for a contest here on that Herald. We got Corporal walking straight in on his own. He's got a bloody 2-on-4 here. Kisei leaves him for dead. Bio looking to come in to save the day, but see you later, Corporal. Braum's out of the fray, and it looks like Bio might be following him, so surely that's a Herald for Direwolves as well, but we'll see what Kevy has to say about it. He wanted to go for it, but he knows it's his life on the line, so decides just to back away. Zoranus with a cheeky old grin there as well, so Direwolves happy as Larry with how these first 10 minutes have gone.
Now, this has been an incredible start for Direwolves, frankly speaking. They get every single objective, they get every kill. Nothing so far has gone the way of Order. We'll see this one more time, because Corporal actually, I believe, just decides to shake Goodo's hand and say congrats on the Herald. You've got priority in top lane. You've got Bulldog here first. You also have priority in mid lane, even though the jungler of Order is nearby. And by the time the reinforcements try and get here to save the day for Corporal, he's dead. And then, unfortunately, for Biopanther, he was the escape path for Corporal, so he ends up going down with him. And it goes from bad to worse.
Just seems like positioning slightly off there, and Direwolves just rotated that little bit faster, so the agency had the priority of, you know, just absolutely destroying that Herald. Now, question is, what's gonna happen going on later here? Because look, in terms of summoning spells, there's a couple that are definitely useful that aren't here right now, but Heavy definitely posturing for a gank. It's just going to be this lane gank, but Gudo is here already. However, he might have gone too far. Zoranus, he does go back in though, and it might have cost him his life. Bio, however, Gudo really wants that trade, but it looks like he'll get away. So a 1-0, and Order find their first kill.
Yeah, 10 minutes into the game, they finally get themselves on the board. This will be the wave crashed in by Kevy and Biopanther. Goodo, by choosing to recall there, means that the wave will be almost completely missed, and teleport is now needed by Zoranus. And a turret play will fall. That's huge. Not as like a full game swing, but finally the Order finding a piece of hope on the map, a bit of momentum. Into the right hands as well, I think it's fair to say. Kevy is notoriously one of the hardest carries for the squad.
Really needed that gold, but at the same time, you can see that Goodo, he let that plate go, but they really needed to set up for this Drake. You can see Direwolves definitely worried about the objectives, happy just to continue to take a whole lot of map control, and they just need to get rid of as much vision here as possible. So Order can't contest. Drake about to spawn.
And it is definitely something that Direwolves will be looking at, like you highlight here. It does seem like this is going to be a part of their win condition. Not Hook. Oh.
Ooh, Kisei is going to get rooted and deleted. Man had, what, 3/4 of his health bar there, and it just turns black within a second. So lane Prio's there in mid, and now it's all about the Drake. And look, without that mid laner, without the ult from Kisei to keep themselves alive, it's going to be a rough decision if Kevy wants to even try to go for the smite, the old burger flip. That is not looking like it's going to be happening at all.
Just absolutely eviscerated in mid, right? Bulldog hits the flash hook. There was a chance he throws it while he was in fog of war from the bush, but doesn't even get the flash response from Kisei. Very shaky start here, I think it's fair to say, from Order. A couple of okay points, but in general, we do just sit here and celebrate Direwolves and how solid they've looked, honestly. You know, the first 12 minutes of this first best of 5 that all 5 of them have ever played in.
Everything is slowing down for just a moment. Seems like we're still in that laning phase, of course, you know. 3 more minutes, or 2.5 rather, of those plates before they fall and those turrets really open up. But again, look, we were talking about that bot lane and how that sort of worked before. It seems like, look, Puma, he's out farming just because of his raw mechanics, right? And it seems like a little bit more presence as well. Starting to be shown by Kevy down on this bot side as well.
I have to feel like the pressure of a misfortune can still body out the Xayah decently well in lane, and it's also the resources of Direwolves have been put a little bit more towards mid lane, right, towards the rest of the map. Earlier rotations to the Herald objective, right, from Bulldog is very good at roaming, but that does mean that your AD will suffer. In saying that, the advantage we spoke about much earlier, Mac, is that fairly cheap items for a lethality build. We'll still get to those item spikes, even though he's 20 CS down. And this is a full AD misfortune just quietly.
Well, this is Kevy getting a bit big for his boots, looking like he may have been trying to take on this 2-on-2. Braum, of course, recalling pretty close, and with that bot Prio, they can rotate at any moment, but it looks like there might be a fight coming through. Second charge and a second turret.
It's gonna get another charge.
What? And a third as well? Surely not. No, it is. Are you kidding? Bio couldn't stop it. He's having a rough day at the office today.
I think Direwolves probably even expected reinforcements to be here. There's a chance that Goodo stays, and they threaten that turret. Oh, bottom.
Okay, a bit of a fight coming through. Ult straight onto Bulldog, but it seems they are going to be able to get out of dodge just in time. So, look, no mana remaining for Puma. He's going to have to go for the reset with that wave shoved, and Frost, he'll hang around just to try to get as much gold as possible. But with those plates going down, of course, looks like there is less point of hanging around to try to push that bot tower down just yet.
Yeah, it's just going to be a reset though, just by Order, really, by using that ultimate combo. They get the ult out of Xayah, so they trade in that respect. And Bulldog is also the person who has no flash, and they were aware of that. But it felt like they went for the 2 kills, right? They didn't just prioritize taking out the Nautilus. They tried to go for both. And that's ultimately why Bulldog is able to just kind of casually move to the right and get out of the bullet time. And get out with his life intact. And that's also an example, I feel like, Mac, of my much earlier point on why perhaps Braum could be another champion. You're not going to have Misfortune auto-attacking when she's ulting. So how does the 2v2 combo actually work if you're looking for those skirmishes?
Is it more to play for the team fight a little later? Or...
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, basically it is about having multiple members on the screen to find the most success from it. But again, I think the logic persists.
Well, there goes another turret. Puma finding some more dollary doos in the bank with that pickup. Now he's going to rotate to join the fray. At mid, it's going to be all 5 Order members starting to look for a team fight. And Direwolves, they are here and starting to clear that Herald, which may get that reset off as long as they kite it over towards the top side.
Kevy.
They're just going to jump straight in. Kevy with that initiation. And Frost, he'll flash away, trying to get to safety. Kevy with the read straight over the top. But that's going to cost him the ult. Now, will that be useful going forward? Man's just continuing to look for a fight. But Direwolves, with their mid player, or Frost rather, out of the fray, it just makes it that much harder to come for the contest. So finally an objective going to be found by Order.
You effectively see the first real time the combo comes into effect here, Mac. You see the Hecarim, you see the Zillion.
Yeah.
You see how fast and scary that can be, but not just speed, there's damage based on that movement speed. And that Hecarim, knowing that Frost had no ultimate, was able to just wipe him before the fight could even be considered. They reset the Herald as well through pressure, and then they're able to secure the objective for themselves afterwards. And the one person who had money in their roster now has a second kill, is worth a bounty, has a shutdown on his head. And Direwolves have a champion to be very afraid of.
You need to think about, like, Kevy knew his angles there as well. When he ulted over, he ulted so he didn't go too deep under the tower and get stuck by maybe another champ that was hanging around, but of course that wasn't the case, and it looks like we are going to see Direwolves again posturing for this Ocean Drake. It is going to be their third if they can secure it in Order. Don't want them to go to Drake Point just yet, so it's getting a little bit awkward. Direwolves pulling it out, and we'll see how this one starts. Kevy starting to get sped up, doesn't want to go in just yet. Of course, there are a couple of ultimates down on the side of Order, so I'm not too sure if they're going to be able to go for this one. Might just be the burger flip. It's there on a platter. It's not chopped in half, but Kevy is so fast. Man is darting around the screen. He's picked up a good amount of damage on the 3, but Direwolves stand their ground. However, come out a little bit worse for wear. So maybe still the chance, even though Order are 1 man down, just the poke needs to continue coming through. Well, that's it, right? The smite's gone, so they just need to try to reset the Drake as best they can. Direwolves, they know the dragon is for free, but they're going to jump onto Order, straight on the top of him. And there you go. Puma at least has that Zil ult to go back and continue fighting. He's got so much damage, able to get yet another before falling. So it's a 2-for-2 trade here. And Direwolves, they'll take the Drake. Kisei walks away with his life, but that's about it. So 4 kills found and the Drake for Direwolves in return for 2 of Direwolves' lives.
I mean, that is sole point, though, for Direwolves. So above all else, you would still say this is successful. Kevy has a Zillion backing him up. Just remember that. But he has no ult, and the Zaire does. So that's why this is so awkward, because he can't get back to his team. And you'll see what happens when the engage finally kicks off. It feels like Order get impatient. They don't want to take the smite 50-50.
Yeah.
They'll dash in. But then Kisei is knocked up by Nautilus, and there is just no way to save the Hecarim. So this just becomes a 4v5. And from this point, Order could disengage. They could say, fair enough, you've done well, but you can see how many people are low on the Direwolves side. They are considering a 4v5 still, and it's just a hook that will connect. The fight will happen. It's straight onto Puma as well. So the Zillion ultimate does save Puma's life and immediately gets used, but it means that the rest of Order are just reeling. They are stuck on the disengage from this point. Kyose just a little bit too strong as well, getting into the fight, completely untouched.
There was some good moments, but something I wanted to highlight looking at that replay is Hecarim's ult was like 3 seconds away from coming up when he died. So that could have been a complete change there. You could see he went in, tried to get that damage off, and he wanted to get back out as well, thinking he was probably fast enough. But a little bit of CC from Direwolves definitely did the trick. So
yeah.
Look, Direwolves, they are in a very, very good position, but the question is, look, how do they continue forcing this win? Because at the moment, look, they've got a slight gold lead. Considering how much they've found, I feel like that gold lead should be bigger, and it just goes to show how much Order are farming.
Yeah, they have to start breaking some structures, breaking some turrets. You can see them now pressuring in the mid lane, but there is going to be a Herald transaction for top as well, and a potential second charge. So it does make you question how worth it this is, right? A team that is ahead, there's no bounties, of course, but they're trading evenly. And the gold is getting, oh, Kevy. What you doing over there, bud?
Man's got no vision. He didn't know that was coming, and then all of a sudden he's found himself in the Hextech ultimatum, and he's gone as well. Kisei gets the ult off, but is Kevy going to be able to escape? Looks like he's good to get to the bush, but no! Will not be able to get away with his life. So Kevy again caught out of position. That's a rough position for him to be in. At least there's the double charge there with the Herald. So Direwolves, their rotate's not for nothing.
Yeah, Kevy just kind of walks into the enemy jungle though, right? Like, that's not his jungle. The Herald charge is fine, you can secure that, but you don't have to disengage by walking into them all. And if Camille wasn't there, maybe he lives. But Camille has to lock you down. Baron already at half health here, Mac.
And without Kevy alive, it's looking like Nash is going to the red side unless something crazy goes down. Bulldog just going to tank the whole ultimate. Puma gets some investment, and it is going to be red team to find it. They need to get away with their lives. Kiyose, he's got that ult on him, and he's just waiting to come back. He will survive with the dash over the wall, and there's no one able to chase the movement. The dashes, they're not there for order, so they're not going to go over the wall knowing that Direwolves' numbers are high. So 4 of these Baron buffs will survive. I thought there was going to be a few more kills there, Asti.
That was really well done by Direwolves in terms of communication. I think that's the biggest thing. Bulldog absolutely threw his life away. I think he was trying to stop the Misfortune ultimate, but nevertheless, it hit him the entire time. But the rest of the team called almost immediately. It feels like perhaps even before the smite was secured that the play was to disengage. And that means that everyone who doesn't have mobility, Frost namely, has to use Flash to get over the wall. So the fact that they are able to get out with 4 alive means that that was the comms early, right? In advance, it was known. They disengage. They have the smite advantage. They immediately call the Baron. It's hard to fault what Direwolves have been doing so far in this game. So far, it's been very good.
Thought Bulldog was going for a little bit of a fish there. Got his hook ready. Spacing from Dials. Looks like they are hunting for a fight. Braum caught out of position. And Corporal, he's going to get caught back in. Just like that, the man's in a pickle. Kisei has to invest the ult yet again. And now it's just going to be looking for the disengage order, trying to figure out what they can do. However, Kevy's going to go straight over the wall, straight onto Bulldog. So he's hit the tanky members. He hasn't hit the damage, which he was looking for. And Direwolves, with a little bit of health loss, they are just going to back away. Bruised, but look, still able to walk.
The reality is both teams are so good in pick situations that they are looking for objectives and team fights more. Just because the Zillion ultimate being there, the Zillion ultimate being able to be stolen, means that it's very hard to punish an individual member. And Corporal, by himself, it seems like it's a really good punish. But Zillion so fast, but this time...
Okay, jumping straight on in. There was no vision in the bush, and it's going to be the base check costing Corporal his life. And Kiyose, Major's fall as well, goes golden for a moment in the hopes that the rest of the boys can help him out. There's Dashin. He's got a little bit of healing off, but he won't get too much more done. Now, it's a 4-on-3, and Kevy's too fast to see. He's just dancing, dashing straight through all the members here in Direwolves. But it seems like the kiting is just way too good. Goodo, he's barely taking any damage, continually healing in order. They're turning it. Kevy, man's got minimal health remaining. Goodo's going to be sent back to the bleachers, but it's a dragon. Finally going to be found by order. Okay, Goodo. Okay. Kisei does have the movement speed as well to get away if he wants to. It's just going to be a kite battle. Flash across. Goodo now has to try to go for Kevy as well. Man just keeps on healing, keeps on dropping the thunder on his head. Big armor, big shields, and a big play to get another kill from that. I thought he was just going to disengage, leave completely, but he's managed to find Kisei in the fray of things.
Goodo's built different, Mac. That is just an absolute monster running around on the volley bear. 5-0-5 as the fight dissipates. Corporal once again suffering from the need to face check for his team, as he is the only person capable of doing that. Kevy's required to deal damage. This actually starts decently well for Order, all things considered. Kevy will get straight onto Frost. Imagine being an ADC in 2022 when Hecarim exists. But it's the rest of the fight that you have to highlight, because Zillion hits the ultimate. Puma gets a second win. And remember, this is a 5-1 ADC that you have to respect. As fed as Zoranus is, he goes in just too far. And this is where the fight stops. Order say we're going for the Drake, and Kisei's like, I got this. It's an armor-stacked volley bear. There's no way I'm losing. Actually, never mind. I've got my cooldowns reset. There's no way he still has Flash. And I've just been owned. And then he actually probably does beat Kevy here as well. But Puma is scary.
Well, that was it. Flash QW, and Goodo just deletes old mate Kisei. Well,
Mac, we have to talk about this, because I haven't had a chance yet.
Okay.
Puma is 6-1. And he is absolutely the hope of Order presently. But that is a Kraken Slayer. We might have to hold the conversation.
That's a good item up against a couple of tanky boys. Bio, not going to be looking like a tanky boy, as he's completely deleted. that may have been another tower on the cards, but it looks like it's just going to be the TP away. Gets out of dodge just in time, and Kevy, he's cleared the bush. Good on him. But of course, gets that extra bit of info as well. Anyway, you were saying,
yes,
true damage, Kraken Slayer.
Yes,
it's good.
So Kraken Slayer, I would say, is not the most common Misfortune build. You would often say that's just considered greedy. A lot of Misfortunes would be going for lethality in general right now. You can absolutely still go on hit, but even then, I think the mobility of Gale Force is just a little bit too valuable for a champion with such low mobility as a baseline. Yep. What this basically means for Puma is that he feels extremely protected. So I don't think the build is bad, strictly because he has a Braum and a Zillion to keep him alive, right? He wants max DPS and just like forward-facing positioning. But it does also mean that champions like Sylas, like Camille, and like Nautilus will have an easier time still finding the pick.
Well,
so that's where I think Order are positioning reliant.
Quickly, I'm seeing... we'll hold that thought because Frost is now in trouble. Man's going to be caught between a rock and a hard place. Will almost get away, but he just doesn't quite have the movement. Kevy's gone very damn deep, though, and it might have just cost him his life. He is going to go golden just as Kisei gets the ult off in time, and it looks like it is inevitably going to be the disengage. But look at all those ults. There was 4 invested in that little situation just to not only go in, but get out for Order.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's a 0-for-0 trade. It's just Zillion Ultimate for Zillion Ultimate is going to be the transaction. The difference is, of course, that Kisei will have his up much sooner, where Sylas needs to have a condition, right, of being in range, being able to steal that one to have it work. Order sitting on vision here, so I do think the play will dissipate. It's just about forcing mid-priority here, Mac, because Baron is on the cards, but in a minute 20, it is an Ocean Soul.
And that's dangerous, because if Direwolves get that, they've already got 3 tanky players, and that's going to be so much harder to get past them. The point I was going to actually bring up just before, Rusty, is I hadn't, and I still don't see any healing cut coming through from Order, and you've got, look, the W from Volley. He's got a lot of sustain. You've got the Ravenous Hydra as well now coming out for Camille, and then Sylas as well has his ability where he heals up a little bit. So is that something we should be seeing shortly, or are Order just overlooking something?
I mean, both teams should definitely have some kind of heal cut. You can see there is at least a Thorn Mail from Goodo, but you're right, there is a lot of healing, and so there should be something that cuts the healing. There is no Enchanter support, so it's hard to justify purchasing it as a Braum. And I do think that the items are just very awkward in general here, right? Who actually buys the heal cut? Is it Misfortune with an Executioner's Calling? That's your 6-1 carry that's now delaying an actual item spike for that, right? So I think this may just come down to the fact that it could be Kisei that purchases it.
Yeah.
It may just be a Morello's. Right? Yeah, it may just be a Morello's for mid.
Okay, well, Kevy, he's hunting some prey again. Man's looking for a fight. Baits out the hook for a moment, and now Direwolves try to turn the fight. Following Order, straight back to the river. Drake is up and Soul's on the platter. Now Kevy, he's gone in yet again, but we do see Direwolves jumping straight onto Order. Puma, man's gone golden. He's got that bloody Zill ult yet again, but it's gone back the other way. There is just health bars depleting everywhere, and it looks like Direwolves may be coming out a little healthier, deleting Order, and it might just be the first ace of the game. Kevy is gone, and that is Direwolves putting 18 kills on the board, and they will surely secure the Ocean Soul off the back of that.
They have been absolutely done in by the Bash Bros, right? The absolute beefcakes, the Bruiser brothers in Zoranus and Kiyosei. The mobility is huge, the DPS is huge, and they just absolutely get it done between the two of them. Low-key, I mean, look at the damage. Not even low-key, just very high, the highest of keys. 5,300 from a Camille in that last fight. Zoranus is here to win. Mac, he is not here to lose this BO5.
Oh, yeah.
And has shown up in red-hot form. Kyosei likewise. And we'll see this fight one more time because, I mean, you nailed it during the fight. It's just chaos. There's health bars everywhere just disappearing. Kevy pushes Frosts out of the fight. And Zaya's got a really hard go of it. But at the same time, so does the Misfortune. Flashes, doesn't have any other extra forms of mobility, doesn't flash over the wall, flashes towards the rest of the team of Direwolves, and then you've just had Zoranus and Kyosei this entire fight free hitting.
That was fully hectic is the term I'm going to go with. I was like, even in the replay, I was looking for for player names, and they just weren't there.
He stole the blue, Mac. There's a Zillion right there hitting blue buff.
It was, but Puma knows that he's the win condition,
you
right?
You can see the observers tilting from it, though. They
don't
zoom in for no reason.
Could have been on cooldown, you know? Could have been a little bit faster. Either way, All right, so Direwolves still only with a 5k gold lead, even with everything going in their way. So Order, they aren't out of the game, but of course there's no chance yet for Direwolves to hit them with their wallet. But it seems like the team comp in these team fights is just looking that much nicer. I'm still waiting to see the moment where this Braum has a huge amount of impact. You pointed it out earlier, and I just want to go back to the fact because it seems like, you know, it's supposed to keep people in place, right? Like that's Braum's ult's job, just slows people down. But it hasn't worked as expected maybe with Puma's ultimate.
I mean, Braum's ult creates a zone, right, of control. It does lock people in place with the slow. Primarily, it is about getting the Misfortune and the Braum working together, right? As long as they're hitting the same targets,
yeah,
then that's when the Braum continues to have value because it gives Misfortune that stun. But otherwise, the rest of the Braum kit so far hasn't really been able to do anything at all. It's actually been quite a struggle. I feel like you could say the same thing about Frost, to be fair, but he has a team really stepping up in front of him. And for the other side, it is just Kevy. There's also Ocean Soul now, Mac.
Oh, yeah.
With no healing cut, as you spoke about before. So not only is there healing, there is now a lot of healing. And there are also tanks and bruisers that are going to be constantly dealing damage and DPS in fights, so getting a lot of value from that heal. There isn't going to be a lot of poke, so it's not like a siege sustain. It's more of a team fight sustain that will come from it.
Yeah. Also, shout-outs to Bio, not overextending, not getting too hungry for those minions. There was a little cheese setup over near the Krugs that Direwolves were planning on, you know, setting the trap. Didn't work out, though. Now, it looks like we are just going to see a rotation to mid. Order very worried about losing that bot turret, and they're looking to try to send some numbers this way. But the mid turret could be in trouble if they do overcommit to this. So there goes the turret, and Order couldn't stop it, and now Frost is hitting Baron on his own.
I wonder if that's because the feathers are visible in Fog of War. Like, he could just be, I don't want to say abusing, but utilizing vision to, you know, get the blue trinket out from the side of Order. It works if that was his plan, so I'm going to assume he is a 5-head gamer. Because there's no way he actually wins that 1v1 ever.
Well, it did drag a few of those Order members over, so popped that blue trinket that someone was using before too, so, you know, Order definitely feeling that pressure, right?
Mac, you're seeing what I was talking about before as a win condition for the side of Direwolves, right? If they get ahead, having Kyose and Zoranus on the same screen is definitely one thing they can do to close out this game. So, like, Xayah throws the feathers at Baron, they get a blue trinket. Silas and Camille both on the bottom side of the map at the same time, seeing if they can catch Biopanther, who would, if they assume Baron is being done, he will push bot wave out, right, to be able to teleport in with wave setup. So, I like the idea from Direwolves a lot.
Mind games. And they're relatively decent. They're kind of working. See what Direwolves do. Bulldog just waiting a little bit far away from the rest of the boys here. However, it looks like Order, they are going for a burger flip.
It goes down so quick.
That is just getting absolutely deleted. Gudo's going to be zoned away from the bloody Baron, and Nash is out of here. That was the quickest one we've seen. Bounty going across as well, but we are going to see Direwolves jumping in. They don't want to go down without a fight. All of a sudden, Zoranus, he's going to be melted with the Hextech ultimatum. Locks a few of the members into place. Gudo continues to heal himself. Goes golden to stay alive. Bulldog, Frost, they're disengaging. Their health bars are so low, trying to save the rest of the boys, but Order have made this one work, at least for the damn moment. There goes Gudo, finally, and maybe another bounty going into the hands of Order. Is this what we've been waiting for? They were 5k gold just before ahead, and now they are hunting for an ace. It's just Bulldog surviving, and just like that, even though the soul is there for Direwolves, even though they were 7 kills ahead, it has swung back in Order's favor, and they've got a free rift with Baron buffer.
It almost defies belief that Order win a team fight with, like, no healing cut against an Ocean Soul Direwolves. They're effectively down in gold, but they have so many items on Puma, they make the play. No hesitation, they rush the Baron, and guess what, Mac? There's a chance they go for the end here and now.
They are thinking about it because there's still a good 10 seconds on a couple of these reses, and they're making it happen. 2 towers straight out of the way, and there is the base. They're thinking about it. There's nothing that can stop the Rusty in game number 1 off the back of a Baron, off the back of what should have been a burger flip. It's gone to Order. Direwolves did nothing wrong until the end.
Direwolves make one mistake and the game ends.
That was literally it.
They made one mistake and the game ended.
Welcome to playoffs, baby.
That's actually just insane. I guess Order wanted to make it as hard for themselves as possible. Mac, they wanted to make it as hard as possible for themselves before they get the win. And then they'll type in all chat, too easy, good luck with the rest of best of fives, Direwolves. Hopefully we've just tilted you out of the series. I mean, that's just out of left field.
That was just unexpected. And look, you've heard our thoughts. We were talking about it the whole damn game. We got Luke, we got Kitty coming back to tell us what the hell went on. Did you enjoy that one from the side lanes, Lukey?
I mean, at this point, I didn't. What, Kitty, please save me. What happened?
Why do Dials keep making one major mistake where it just ends in a loss for them? It's happened to Peace, it's happened to PGG, no, not PGG, sorry, it's Chiefs, I believe. Now that's happened again against Order. They need to stop making these weird fights after securing the Baron, which also just made... I don't know, I'm wordless. I don't know what to say.
I mean, I think at this point it's the burger flip, right? Sometimes it flips sunny side up, sometimes it flips sunny side down. And at this point, if you're Order, you're grinning from ear to ear. And we saw even in the player cams at the end there, you saw Bulldog. He looked dejected. They look like the soul's been ripped out of them because they had soul point there, Rusty. They had the soul.
They had the whole
everything. They just had to chillax for a bit. The game was theirs, and unfortunately, one mistake, and that's one game down.
I didn't even think that Order would take the fight after they got Barrett. I thought they would disengage.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't believe how quickly that turned on a dime. And with how good Direwolves looked in the early game, it's a shock, I think, to everyone that was just suddenly an L. And the team fighting was good from Direwolves, right? Like, it's so weird to go into these post-game highlights and talk about the fact that Order won this one. There's a couple of things I think that we should highlight here. I'm not sure if Kitty shares the same sentiment. I think that Kisei had a very good game. I think that the Hecarim Zillion was probably the biggest game-changing factor in this one. And Puma is a greedy boy. Like, that guy got so much of the map gold for like 10 minutes while they were losing and said, give me 6 items, I will win. And legitimately does that, right? Like, has a comp to enable him, but does it.
I mean, as you said, a greedy boy, but when the greed pays off, it is good. And then at this point, I mean, Kitty, like, it's just crazy the fact that we saw, as Rusty said, the good team fighting come out of Direwolves. They look like the better team for the majority of this game, and then it's just one mistake, and it's all she wrote.
Yeah, we saw from the early game that Gwen was actually set behind, where in this volatile matchup, the Kimmel will just snowball from that point onwards. And with the Zillion being a utility mid lane, they actually had not a lot of AP on that team comp, where I picked up that there was a Zhonya's on Xylus with a Thornmail and Deadman's play on the Volley Bear. So for that game, it was just a Puma show where he was the main DPS with Kevy following with some extra AD. But, you know, we burger flip it, and sometimes that burger just flops onto the ground and it ruins everything and you can't eat it anymore, and that's what happened.
The burger analogy is going so far.
I love that now it's like completely ruined Kitty's day as well, that a burger's ended up on the ground. But hey, maybe game number 2 we might be able to pull it back. Mac, looking at this gold diff, mate, that looks like the deep end of a pool.
I did.
Looks like you've hit the edge of it and you need to try and turn back around.
Yeah, you got to swim back up. You know, you go down to the bottom, your ears are popping because you're bloody ready to get out of there, and then all of a sudden it's just gone straight back to 0. So straight back to square one, and even with the gold lead, even with literally everything in their hands, Dire will somehow lose that game. I had to, even in the replay, I was trying to be like, what the hell went on? I think Puma popped the stopwatch to keep himself alive. That baited Gudo way too far in. Everyone else was copping a lot of damage, which is owned away, of course, Frost and Bulldog. And then they just never went back in. They didn't have the damage dealers. So even though Order's health bars were like at half HP, they just didn't get killed. So that's GG. Yeah. That was it.
Just GG. Sometimes it's how it does work. So for us to calm down a little bit here, everybody, let's just jump into some from the fans. We'll talk about some OS All-Star teams, and then we can put that game in the back of our minds and we can set our sights on the game number 2. So let's have a look at this first one. So obviously, Rusty and Mac, you guys haven't been hit. All right, banger
Best
straight
roster.
away. I won't let
bias.
you talk about it just yet, Rusty. Mac, how do you feel about this roster?
Oh, look, as long as Juves is back in OS, I'm down with it. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Goated. All right, Rusty, out of 10.
I mean, this is a retirement village out of 10.
This is the real retirement home.
Except for King. Oh, Tally as well. Tally in 2 roles is the real MVP in this roster. No, this is a big throwback. Did you know I played on a team with 3 of these players? I've played on a team in my career with 3 of these players.
All right, well, I'll put you on the spot once again then, Rusty. Who was your favourite team out of those 3?
Oh, for skill or for...
Just favourite teammate.
Favourite has one meaning.
I'm going to say Ejim.
Oh, okay. We'll leave you guys with that one, Rusty.
They all abandoned me, though, in different ways, Luke.
I mean, that's unfortunate for you, Rusty. You found your favourite and you're going to stick with it. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to put game number 1 in the rearview mirror and set our sights here on to game number 2. Short break. On the other side of this, we're going to have Order and Dials once again jumping into the riff for game number 2 of this best of 5.
Don't want to go down without a fight. All of a sudden, Zoranus, he's going to be melted with the Hextech ultimatum. Locks a few of the members into place. Kudo continues to heal himself. Goes Golden to stay alive. Bulldog, Frost, they're disengaging. Their health bars are so low, trying to save the rest of the boys. But Order have made this one work, at least for the damn moment. There goes Kudo, finally, and maybe another bounty going into the hands of Order. Is this what we've been waiting for? They were 5k gold just before ahead. And there is the base. They're thinking about it. There's nothing that can stop the Rusty in game number 1.
Hey, look, Menulog.
Cause I have to proclaim life's a game of chance.
We're doing laughs this week. I don't know if you picked up on that one. So
I'm not sure if these are menu pogs anymore or more just kind of exhibits on Mac's, descent into madness, because most of them have been him as geriatric Mac, and that was just maniacal laughing. I think at this point, Mac, you might be on the train for, maybe something a little bit later on. But either way, that game number 1. Yes, Mac, you want to speak?
I just said maybe.
Okay, maybe. But who knows? We might be able to pull you back into line and might be able to get you to not be, the old geriatric man that we've seen so far in those menu pogs. But either way, game number 1 is something that we need to talk about. And Kitty and I think it is something for us to think about here, is the fact that Direwolves losing that game from being so far ahead. That's certainly got to hurt them, right, in a full best of 5, especially in their fresh players.
Well, I was looking at the drafts and we saw that Zoranus' Camille popped off once again, having a winning lane, even having the Herald I believe, go off 3 times, hitting the not Nexus Tower, the Inhib Tower. So I believe if Order want to come into this game too, they want to ban away the Camille because Zoranis had the best performance on this Camille in his carry Chample, where he's pretty flexible in terms of champions, but I do believe that Camille is probably the only carry that he can play consistently. So if that gets removed, then that DW might need to change up their team identity and play towards a more bot-centric game.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we look at this Order roster, Mac, we look at Biopanther as being that rock in the top lane, right? He's always Mr. Consistent, always been able to play extremely well in that top lane. So maybe that's something they're looking towards here in game number 2, is just trying to make sure that Bio just has a pretty straightforward matchup.
Yeah, well, he just wants to try to survive. And look, we're talking about it like Direwolves were winning because they were, right? But then Order won. So it's all about just punishment when anyone's standing in the wrong spot. I want to see Bio have a better game. I know that he probably is not going to be happy with the result up until that 20-minute mark, but then happy with, of course, how that final team fight went. And because it's all about how you finish, but starting strong is also a pretty damn good thing in League of Legends too, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess, Rusty, the next question for you then is, do we feel like this was just the inexperience from the Direwolves, right? Like, maybe the mentality of it being playoffs and them being ahead up against a team like Order might have gotten to them towards the end.
I mean, I think the reality of that last game is that Order had one way to win, and they managed to do that and go above and beyond all in a single moment, right? Like, that's the kind of thing that Direwolves should be aware of. Like, I think you should be able to very keenly know that it's just a Baron game. So the fact that that was able to be taken from them and then a fight after means that Direwolves just weren't prioritizing the right objective well enough. And if that's a consistent issue, then it's very hard for them to win a whole best of 5 even if they get leads. So they need to work very heavily on closing out games with the comps that they have when they get those leads.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly now with one game down, it certainly doesn't feel all too well for the Direwolves, lads. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again for the DF fan vote. You guys can use your channel points to predict who you think is going to win for this game. I know I won a decent amount of points after that last game, so thank you, Order, for that little burger flip from me. But Mac, mate, before we start getting into that, did you lose all of yours in the last game?
I made a couple. It was pretty good. And,
and
Twitch
good.
chat, I believe, also got my prediction right. So, prediction right for one map, at least, one game. So we'll see if that continues.
Well, at least Mac and his relationship with Twitch chat is still going to be flourishing as ever. So I think right now when we're looking towards this, Kitty, it is going to be a conversation for us to start talking about the fact that Direwolves did pick blue side again. So we've had, 4 games so far, and every single one of these, or actually 5 games, 5 picks of side, and they've all been blue.
Well, I do believe there is a strong preference towards the blue side because there's just so many champions that you want to prioritize in these drafts, like junglers, even maybe a comfort pick for Zoranis like that Camille once again. We could see potential comfort picks coming out of Direwolves once again going into game 2, and I do expect them to actually take away some of those OP junglers that are quite influential in this current meta.
All right, well, Kitty's put up some ideas here, so with Champ Select ready, let's jump into game number 2, lads, and see how it falls.
Well, look, I can tell you guys the game number 2 is already off to a start, and Kitty's predicted it as well, because there are a couple of OP junglers already straight out of there by Direwolves. Of course, that Ev ban having to come across because they don't want Kevy to just run away with it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to ban the Evelyn. The Hecarim ban is the one addition that I think is the most important thing. Blue side is going to get Gudo his Lee Sin, however. Remember, they choose that side, so they know exactly what they're prioritizing here. The question is, where does Kevy go in response? Because Viego, I think, is the most common response that I've seen to Lee Sin globally.
Okay.
And the question is what goes with that, right? If you're going to go for the Viego, pick compositions are usually the best course of action. Something like an Ahri LeBlanc in mid lane that can get a lot of priority is great to have. Nautilus already kind of going down that path.
What else? So, again, as you mentioned, Naught's there. Now, what are we going to see coming through from Direwolves? The old Nidhover? Surely not. We're not going to see Lee Sin in lane, not in 2022. Ooh, LeBlanc, it was left open, and Kiyose, he's picked his early, which of course means Kisei can get himself a nice little counter pick.
Yeah, I'm wondering what goes with it here as the third pick. Is it an AD, right? Do they have the Misfortune? Do they have the Xayah priority still? Especially with Hecarim gone, perhaps Xayah kind of rises in priority. The answer is no, because they can see the Nautilus there. So this is the other option, right? It was presumably going to be one of the bot lane champions. They're going to go for the Tahm Kench into the Nautilus, so an aggressive laner, but also a laner that can kind of peel for one champion incredibly well. And with the amount of mobility that exists between a Lee Sin and a LeBlanc already, I wouldn't be surprised to see Frosts go back to like a Xayah or go back to like a Misfortune type of champion here. Just Jinx as well, you know, Jinx is banned, but those types of champs, incredibly well protected now by Bulldog.
Unloading the Toad. Keen to see it happen and keen to see what Bulldog's going to be capable of on it, because we've seen some other supports pilot this to a very good degree here in the LCO, but Vex, of course, picked up there by Kisei. So we'll see how he goes in mid up against that LeBlanc matchup. Head-to-head, both those champs, who wins?
LeBlanc Vex?
Yeah.
I have spoken about this a lot, but for some reason, people want to contest this. Vex beats LeBlanc, full stop.
Yep.
There's just, by design, Vex beats LeBlanc because Vex is good into mobility champions and dash champions. LeBlanc's kit has 2 dashes in it if you mimic the W. Therefore, you're dealing more damage in a 1v1. I am preferential to the Vex most of the time here. You also have the ability with your ultimate to follow the distortions, right? If she gets creative, you still go to where she currently is at that point. And also the Fear passive, very easy to hit with W in a similar way to Lissandra proccing Aftershock if LeBlanc dashes on top of you. So I will always say that in this matchup, Kisei is going to have a very good time. And then it comes down to how the 2v2 skirmishing goes, right? Because Lee Sin LeBlanc is super dangerous. Extremely high amount of damage out of those two, but so is Viego if he gets the jump.
It's already such a different comp for Order this game because, of course, you know, he's on the Zill. He can't really have pop-off games, so to speak, in terms of, like, carrying potential. But he did get a huge amount of ults off last game. But now it's his turn to do a bit of damage. We are going to see that Zeri ban come through for Direwolves, Poppy as well. So just trying to keep away from those tanky old pop laners. But it looks like we may see Graves moving into lane.
Certainly possible that the Graves would get locked in here. It is a staple champion for top. However, I do think that you don't pick red side to go full counter pick for AD.
Yeah.
So I would expect, yeah, like this to me does make more sense. Misfortune with the Nautilus, however, I would say depending on where Direwolves go here, and like if they want to go hyper-aggressive Tristana gameplay, then MF is at risk. That is the only downside of perhaps blind picking the MF. There's also a Varus Tahm Kench, Ezreal Tahm Kench, right? Like the part that we didn't mention about this lane is that you can do like a weak side AD if you want. And this is kind of like an old school version of a Tahm Kench lane where you're just sitting back, you know, poking with Q. Both of you poking with Q, right? Tongue Lash, Mystic Shot, get them to half health, all in on site. So
yeah,
that's what that lane will come down to. And what is Zora's blind pick? And is it just Gragas again?
He looked so worried in that player cam. He didn't know what to pick, but it looks like Trind will be locked in, which means, what are we going to see Bio pick up here? Is he going to play for the lane or is he going to play for the comp? Thoughts?
I mean, I've got lots of thoughts, but we'll wait till it's locked.
Okay.
Camille's probably the most common scene counter, actually. So it's funny that that one is banned away, because if Trind ever jumps on you or dashes on you, you just get away, right?
Yep.
Like you have your W for zone control. Ornn is just a fridge. It is just a big stand and deliver tanky boy. Just a big old ram, and if Trind dashes onto you, he will be hitting you. You just have to trade back. You don't really have the option of disengaging. The mistake's been made or the decision's been made. You do scale up incredibly well, though, with the rest of your team, right? It's just the risk of how you work as a champion compared to how Zoranis on Tryndamere will work as a champion here is a very different dynamic, Mac. Because one wants to team fight, wants to group. The other one doesn't really care for grouping much at all.
Yeah, saw a bit of Ornn being played earlier as well in LCS. So, you know, got my mind over how this can work. Of course, there's that hidden gold with those, of course, upgrades to a couple of the old items there. So we'll see if Order are going to be able to find themselves some sneaky, hidden old power spikes. But of course, we're going into game 2. Still a chance for Direwolves to try to bring this back. The best of 3 territory. And I need to ask you, Rusty, looking at both of these comps, which one do you prefer?
I personally prefer Order's composition, but that to me is about how ease of execution looks, right? I do think that the amount of variance that is there for Direwolves to get ahead early and snowball is super high. Lee Sin, Tryndamere being able to work together, LeBlanc, Lee Sin roaming around from mid is really potent, and then the fact that a Tahm Kench can get super active on the map with how easy it is to play Ezreal into Nautilus. I think that Direwolves have a lot of pressure on making early plays, but if it works, they are super dangerous through mid-game and can snowball an easy win.
Let's have a look at how this is going to start. Of course, look, game 2, it's time for that mental reset to come through and also to test the mental of a lot of those Direwolves players. But look, speaking of Direwolves, we have a good old interview, a good old friend of mine, Poltron, to bring on to the stream. Poltron, buddy, how are you feeling going into game 2?
Feeling good, Mac. Feeling good.
That's good to hear. Now, look, the boys have been working hard all split, so how are they feeling going into their first best of 5? Because, of course, they haven't had a lot of these best of 5 experiences.
For sure. I'd say the boys are feeling excited for sure. A little bit nervous, but, you know, nothing that'll affect our gameplay. I'd say all the pressure would be on Order to win. When you have a bunch of veterans on a team like that, up against a lot of second-year players and rookies, you know, you don't really want to lose to us in the loser bracket of the first playoffs, I should say.
Yeah, of course. Now, of course, that support swap came in today. Bulldog back in the roster for this first game of the playoffs. Do you want to give us a bit of insight on that?
Yeah, well, I will first say Shinky has been playing very well the last few weeks, and I'm very happy I picked him up. But unfortunately, he had a family wedding to attend the last few days, so he wasn't able to join us in our scrims, our practice, and he just got home today and he's quite tired. And we got the Bull God to step up, and he's ready to win game 2.
Yeah, well, love is in the air. Now, one final question quickly. How, of course, are the boys feeling after last game? Because they started so strong.
The boys brushed it off. It was an unfortunate loss. Couple miscoms towards the end of the game, but yeah, nothing major.
Yeah, look, pressure will do that. Thanks, Poltron. It was great to chat with you, and hopefully I'll talk to you again soon.
See ya.
See ya. So, Rusty, Frost here. Took a bit of a beating for a second there. I got a little bit worried, but they did pop level 2 first.
Yeah, they did actually quite well down in this 2v2, Bulldog and Frost together. Again, we spoke about this very briefly during Champion Select, but the importance of this lane is that Bulldog and Frost want to hit Q first, right? They want to harass, they want to poke, they want to find windows as a result of that poke, and that's when they want to collapse. And that level 1, I mean, it looks like they both got super low, but the reality is 2 summoners used by Puma, as well as both potions from a tier start Misfortune, that's a deserved punish, right? You go for the tier start, you're missing in DPS, full stop. Ezreal didn't start tier, he went for a longsword 3 pots, so he just does more damage, and that adds up over prolonged fights. Gudo.
Yosei and Gudo looking to make this one happen. Okay,
Kisei.
Q's going to miss, so Kisei gets out of dodge with nice little sidestep to keep himself alive.
You've heard of Downward Duke. Get ready for the sequel. The exact same Duke a second time on the Lee Sin queue. Both dodging. We'll just get out perfectly fine and able to walk away. It was the summoner spell though. But still, it means nothing more, right? It means there's no health trade and he has the opportunity to just recall and teleport or recall and walk as he would like.
Yeah.
He also had the possibility, depending on his team, to stay mid and fix his wave. But he opts into the base, so you can see how the wave is built up a little bit here. Kyosei, slight experience lead, I think, more than anything else.
Ooh, looking at this, so Kevy's gone red to blue full clear, back towards the crab, and may even just go for this gank top lane, because Zoranus is very much pushed up. Stun coming through from Bio, and Kevy, he's not going to bother, so looks like he's just committing to the back here, seeing if Zoranus wants to hang around, but he will not, so disengage.
Yeah, Zoranus is afraid of the bush. He will place a ward now and not find the Viego that had just recalled there. I think that's really nice presence of mind from Kevy. Didn't walk into lane, didn't need to, right? Like, the wave was fine. I'm sure that was communicated with Biopanther. Kenshin.
Right on into it. Corporal going to be able to hook away to safety, but that leaves Puma open. Corporal tanks another shot, so at least his ADC will survive for the moment. Frost, he's hungry, just needs to let a couple of skill shots. Corporal goes back in, which costs him another point of health or 2, and then they just have to get right on out of here. Of course, they don't really seem to know where Lee Sin is at the moment, so they're just going to try to back, go for the reset, and they might lose a plate off the back of it.
And you can see Kyosei early with the move here, just in case they stayed, right? If they wanted to catch this wave under the turret, then they were 100% were going to get punished for that one. The level 1 skirmish, the E start, the tier start for Misfortune gets extremely heavily punished there. You can see the CSD Note that that will also probably be an experience advantage for the 2v2 of Direwolves. That is a huge start for an Ezreal and a Tahm Kench down in that bottom lane. For a lane that doesn't necessarily need to be played towards ever, for a self-sufficient 2v2, they're winning it.
So, Direwolves just backed, and I'm seeing a freeze under tower here for Order. So instead of shoving, instead of going for the play, they match that recall instead. And Drake's up, so we're going to see Kevy. He's hunting for some info. Looks like he's going to get jumped on. Half of his health gone within a second, and Bulldog looking to just try to find some more CC. Frost coming into the fray. Now it's all up to Corporal to try to escape, but the man is pretty tanky. Knock up, not going to connect, so he should be okay to get right back to safety.
The hunting there, though, from Direwolves. It's respectable. Bulldog, if the Tongue Lash connects, perhaps the Sonic Wave does also. And perhaps that is at least a summoner spell forced by Corporal, but at the end of the day, nothing actually needed. Just his little footsies to walk away. They're going again. It's a bait.
Yeah, Kevy's really thinking about it. He's real close, just into the lane gank he goes. And Bulldog, gets that shield off just in the nick of time. Corporal's going to be ignited, but he is not going to die. First blood found by Order, and this time it's looking like a better start. However, Goodo might come in for the cleanup. Janitorial duties on the list, and the man, he's hungry for Corporal, but Puma's just hitting him, and Corporal might survive. He does! There's no way that that's allowed. Kisei comes in to find another as well, and things go south so damn quickly for Direwolves.
For just a second, that looked so good from Goodo.
Yeah.
But then the Q misses the walk-away strategy. I mean, just completely outplayed by Corporal. Once again, using those little feet to scurry away as fast as possible. Puma's recall also going to be cancelled there, but that's really water under the bridge in the scope of how well that went for Order as a whole. And how any kind of 2v2 lead that existed in bottom is completely awash. It is a bait here by the side of Order. Corporal uses the hook, Bulldog sees a window, but it's fake, right? It's been presented as an opening. They will take down the Tahm Kench. The mistake from Kevy here is he doesn't activate his thick skin. So Lee Sin immediately gets lethal. I mean, it's just clearly not a Tahm Kench player, right? That's just the product of playing Viego. Goodo goes really aggressive. Flash Warthog tries to cover distance. Q misses. He slaps, but he just continues to walk away. And Kyosei and Kisei Mac were walking bottom at the same time, but only one of them has a Vexel.
Well, that's it, right? And of course, popping 6 just at the right time. I was watching because they were in mid when that fight started. And while the fight was going on, because it just got dragged out for so long, they managed to walk from mid to bot lane. And of course, you know, the dash was the difference there coming through from Kisei, sorry. It keeps on getting me. But of course, what I wanted to point out is Puma's slow was what kept Corporal alive.
Yeah, the make it range is buys space, right? It buys enough distance for the Nautilus, for Corporal to have the presence of mind to juke as well, right? It's not a point-blank, unmissable Sonic Wave, so that was huge. But at the same time, it does make you wonder, what was Goodo going for there, right? Best case scenario, it still feels like it would have been a 1-for-1 trade. So why?
It's a good question. Corporal is going to answer with that hook. However, might have just gone a little bit too deep. So he's just going to disengage, but it is all just a distraction because Kevy, he snuck away the Infernal Drake to get that first one on the board for Order, which, look, it's pretty good. Better start than last game for Order, and you know what that means. Direwolves could be in for a rough game too.
So we need to actually cast our minds back to an earlier point in the season, Mac, where it was Direwolves versus Order. We might need to hold the conversation depending on what happens here, because there's a lot of movement. It could be a dive.
Whoa, and there's a big old ult coming through from Puma just to clear that wave. By a bit of extra time as well, and Kevy, he's just trying to steal away this red buff. There are a few of these Direwolves members, but it seems like they can't do a whole lot. Kyosei going to be spotted there by the red trinket, and man's got those chains connected. Root comes through, and Direwolves, they're looking for the pump straight on into the middle. Bulldog going to be able to get a big old knockup, which allows it to be a 1-for-1 trade for now. Goodo, he's just going to be trying to survive here, chasing Corporal down, and just like that, Order, they get completely split apart, and the damage dealers are nowhere near the tanky boys, so they just get chipped away at, and now Puma's out as well. Kisei has a chance here, but the man is not liking himself in a 1-on-3. Ults missed, and he could be in a rough position. He has to burn the flash just to survive.
They're still chasing him down here, Mac. A lot of the skill shots are just going to go wide, and Kisei will scrape away with his life intact, but nothing else. An egg on the face of the entirety of Order, because they are the ones clearly forcing that play, right? They'll go for the red steal. the fight that follows through is engaged by Bulldog and expertly done. Honestly, from all of the direwolves. And the biggest thing for me, and you'll see this at the start of the replay.
He's gone.
As Kyosei kills Kisei as we get into this one, that's exactly the two people that I want to talk about in this as well. Because Kyosei dodges out on the Vex ultimate with the flash here. That's probably fight winning if Kisei uses that on Bulldog straight out of the gates, right? Gets the reset, is able to get Frost here. I mean, look at the health bars. That is a 1v9 Vex angle, but Gudo hits a sick kick, is able to get the Nautilus down, has the reset, and just routes them. And then Kisei has to tank this Q, holds his passive here, and can actually just keep walking. But chooses to try and turn and burn Frost, and it misses and runs the risk of dying. And I think the reality is that follow-up kill from Kyosei is a result of all of this extra health missing on what could have just been a little walk away.
Well, that's it, right? And he was under tower when that happened. It was just Kyosei backed himself with a low health bar as well. And of course, he's LeBlanc, so he could just dash away as soon as he gets that pick off. The burst was insane, and it, of course, gives him that little lead here in mid. So 6 CS, but also that extra kill in the bag as well. But he's got a bounty on his head now, as does Gudo. See if that has any effect moving forward.
And it feels like any time someone gets momentum in this game, Mac, the next skirmish swings it back the other way. And you never know who's going to bloody win any of these games so far. There's been a lot of, I don't want to say A-ramming, because it's not in mid, but just 5v5, just chest puffing. They're all just like, what's next? And it's arenas, right? We've got rounds. Next fight's at the enemy blue buff. It's 5v5 there instead.
Well, that's it. Like, they heard it's playoffs. They heard you never back down. So they're just going toe-to-toe every single time. And I'm not talking about any team specifically, because it seems to be happening to both sides.
Rocky playlist on full blast.
Yeah.
Every step is a battle.
Oh, he is looking for a knock up here. Just slowing him down with the tongue lash for the moment. Puma clears that wave to make sure no dive can come through. So the ult investment is definitely strong here in order. They're continuing to chase back towards the river. So we'll see if Kisei is going to be caught off here. Herald going to be popped. And it might just be that mid-tower Dawnskis, depending on if they move in.
That is a Herald that could absolutely get hit here. The question is, can they take it out before the charge? And the answer is just no, Matt. So we'll at least get some plates.
Bit of gold. Bit of something.
Okay, I've got a moment, I reckon, here. Both teams might finally not 5v5 for a second. There's some red dots to take in top lane.
Shoot.
And we've got 40 seconds till Drake. Top lane, Biopanther versus Zoranus. If you think back to much earlier in the LCO, there was a Vayne top picked by Zoranus. I think it was the first time that Direwolves played Order this season.
Yeah.
It was into a Scion. And you would expect that Vayne does really well in that 1v1, right? Just like exists in the lane, scales up really hard, snowballs. I think he had like a 2 CS lead at 20 minutes. Nothing really of note. And it was into a Locket Scion. So he was playing against a support-built Biopanther and only had a 2 CS advantage. I'm getting a little bit of deja vu here. The reality is this Tryndamere hasn't snowballed a game out, hasn't got any kind of crazy leads. He's going to get his first plate 13 minutes in just before they dissipate. But I don't think this Tryndamere is enough of a threat right now to say that's a win condition for the side of Direwolves.
Well, yeah, speaking of plates, it looks like it's just those like 2 for 2 traded, right? So 2 plates going to Puma in that bot lane, and then 1 in mid, 1 in top going to Direwolves, respectively. Now we do have the Drake fight about to ensue. Kevy just hanging around here. They're taking scope of what's going on, looking to do a bit of reconnaissance, and he's going to whack the Drake himself, just trying to pull it out. The reposition, Order grouping up, but so are Direwolves. They're ready. Bit of vision coming through, but again, that Drake's getting pretty damn low. Okay, next up, the True Shot Mirage goes straight through the middle, chips the damage a little bit, and it looks like that Drake is just going to try to go for the reset. Order now fallen away, very worried about what could go wrong. So they're happy to give the objective just to keep themselves alive. Corporal, it cost him his life, but Direwolves, very happy with the outcome.
Order creates so much space, but do absolutely nothing with it. They've just got space, and Direwolves allow them that distance. Is all mid.
And Bulldog is just right under the turret. Kisei is not going to be able to exist. That one's a little rough for him. And now Corporal has something to say. Root under the tower. And the tower, of course, was focusing him. But again, Kyosei, he's going to be knocked down. There goes one of the bounties straight into the pocket of Kevy. And the man's continuing to go forward, gets that reset off, and at least he's able to dash away and not take too much more damage. So Zoranus here, able to clear up the wave, but an odd team fight under the Tower of Order.
In reality, it ends up being a 1-for-1 with an outer turret taken, so still massively favorable for the side of Direwolves. We're looking at what Order will do here, though, with the trade. Hook is on again on Zoranus, but it's just a Herald play more than anything else. Humano ultimate means it's hard to zone them away. I don't know if the Korean Lee Sin is willing to go for this much of a play.
True Shot Barrage comes through and will not snipe that Herald. Of course, he gets that extra bit of info too, so... See from here what Order decide to do, because Direwolves starting to find themselves that gold lead.
Yeah.
Of course, the plates are gone, as you mentioned, and mid tower finally taken as well by Direwolves. So we'll see with that open map on the red side, it's going to make things that much more difficult for Order to try to find some tempo.
So I think we should highlight, just for teamfight dynamic, exactly what happened in that last little skirmish of the Drake Mac, because I do think we'll start to see a little bit more of that as Corporal in a lot of trouble.
I thought he was going to get deleted, but he's dodged the old chains.
The chains must have been on cooldown at the point of the engage there.
Yeah.
The thing that I want to highlight is that Direwolves played the Drake fight out by simply using their mobility to disengage. That is something that you'd expect to see a lot from Direwolves here, right? Lee Sin, LeBlanc, Ezreal, impossible to catch, but that is Order's game plan. They want to actually make those picks.
Yeah.
So it'll be a dynamic of one team kind of going forwards, the other team going backwards, and depending on who lands the better punch in that situation, if Order miss the mark, Direwolves will go for the re-engage.
Well, Kyosei and Gudo both with the blue buff here. Kyosei just snatching away Order's one. Now, of course, it comes back to the conversation of, what do we do while we wait for this to happen? Red buff going to be taken as well, and Direwolves, they are just going to be rotating down to see what can happen. But it needs to be said as well, we do have the Hextech Rift, so did see that used as well for Gudo to go for that fast rotation and help things out. I mean, Direwolves to stay that bit more aggressive.
It's kind of setting ourselves up in the more like the mid-game, more of a flow state lane assignments here. Direwolves will plant their mid laner bottom, is the one teleporting member of the team. It's the standard Tryndamere tech. Teleport is for losers. I'd rather run fast with Ghost. Super important, of course, for his trading. And that means that Direwolves will have to be a little bit more patient in how they make the plays. If this is how the assignments go, you want to be playing towards your LeBlanc. And this is where Tryndamere should start to come into his own and try and take some structures. Because you're expecting Biopanther to make a lot more roams down towards the fights before they start.
Looks like that bot tower is going to survive for now. Yosei matching Kisei's rotations. Direwolves, they couldn't stop that back from happening. But again, you mentioned it, Bio, he's happy just to survive and exist in lane, not dying. Only losing that one plate, but again, just looking for those last hits, looking to scale up.
He's gone Kraken Slayer as well, Zoranus. So he's actually... I do think that this... I don't know if this is objectively true, Mac, but I think that Kraken Slayer is a bait pick from Tryndamere because Gale Force is too important. Going for the Kraken Slayer, to me, is a decision to just kill Biopanther. Like, I see this as similar to like Camille going for a Ravenous Hydra instead of a Titanic Hydra. Your game plan now is to split push to win. There's teleports coming in behind Order mid here.
Ooh, and they may just get collapsed on. There's a three-pronged approach happening, but Direwolves, they all walk in, and now it's Zoranus getting completely turned on. But if they focus him for too long, he can just hit that old R button, and it looks like Order, they are able to pick off a few more. Zoranus, his health is almost gone, but the Undying Rage keeps him alive. Big ult coming through from Puma just to split up the troops from Direwolves. And now Kyosei could be gone as well. There's another big kill coming through. Frost's untouched, but at the same time, at least that turret's alive, right?
I mean, that's a huge win from Order overall. Direwolves made the play, and they are the ones that lose out in that situation. I mean, it is a teleport flank, but it's a LeBlanc flanking, and what they didn't know is that Biopanther was literally right there ready for the action to take place, presses the R button, and suddenly the team fight looks a little bit better for them. The Tryndamere was the one who was caught out on the flank, however, not so much the LeBlanc. And there was just maybe one too many prongs on the flank approach, and at a certain point, the flank becomes the front line, and that's where Order flip it.
Well, that's going to be a Hextech Drake found by Order as well. Off the back of the team fight, they just have way too much control of the Rift at that point. But again, you're having a look at this. Kyosei slowed down, wasn't able to dash in and get the damage done that he obviously wanted. Zoranus doing a decent job there, but at the same time, look, once Kevy got those resets, it was just when it started, right?
Bulldog just needs to chill. Like, that's the biggest takeaway that I've had from the past couple of, you know what, since level 1. Bulldog just needs to chill.
Okay.
He keeps going in and dying, right? Like, that is not you are not a tank. There is no point that you can go into 5 people as a Tahm Kench with Swifties and a Locket and expect to survive. And you're also then giving a Viego reset, you are giving a Vex reset, and you are losing the team fight. So play more peeling Tahm Kench, and I think you'll find that Direwolves might have a better time.
Okay, so establishing what could be going wrong. And again, Bulldog is going to be overextended. The tower is Gonski's, and that's another reset inbound. He melted within moments, and Puma, he's just going to drop that ult, try to clear out the wave, but they're trying to jump onto him, and it could cost them their lives. Kevy with another reset, and he's feeling it. But it looks like it's just that turn straight back to Nash because he's up, he's ready to go.
I mean, it's just 5-head from Corporal. Very well played by Order as a whole, right? They knew that they had intent to dive mid lane if Direwolves stayed, and Direwolves not recognizing just how weak they are in comparison, even though they're dead even in gold. Corporal Hex flashing. It seems like Order are making the play to turn, Mac.
Oh, and Frost, he's in trouble. Man's trying to get out of dodge, but again, there's no one here to help him. Oh, call the Forge God. Way too strong, and Gudo, he's just jumped straight on in. Zoranus trying to take a little bit of the heat, which kept Gudo alive, but he's running to the wrong damn base, and he wants Kisei. He needs him. He can't land the Q. There were Raptors in the way, and it's going to inevitably cost him his life, and another damn reset. Order getting away with everything.
Yeah, kill after kill going the way of Order, and it just does not look like slowing anytime soon. A Kraken Slayer, Tryndamere, and an Ornn walk into a team fight. I know which one I would rather have there, Mac. And this game is going from bad to worse extremely fast for Direwolves. And to be clear, this is a Direwolves that were winning some skirmishes. They were showing a lot of signs of promise. They were matching, and they were besting Order when it came to crunch. But now they've just really been hard done constantly.
We did hear in the coaching interview that when the pressure was on, there were some communication issues coming through from Direwolves. So it begs the question, is that what we're seeing here? You know, are they maybe miscommunicating? Maybe Gudo's going a bit too ham, trying to be the savior. But of course, that turns into 2 kills for Order. So, you know, it's just like, when do you cut your losses, right?
I mean, at this point, like, I think the Direwolves have actually hit a point where their only choice is split pushing. They just, like, to highlight their whole composition one more time, Ezreal, Tahm Kench, and Lee Sin have really good protection and disengage.
Yeah.
But they've given so much of an in now to the Vex, Viego, Nautilus that it's really hard to constantly disengage. You're seeing dives now, right? This Tahm Kench is 0-5 is just being one hit. And so that window of opportunity where you could potentially 4-1 or 1-3-1 with like a floating LeBlanc seems to have disappeared. And if you are looking at a team fight Tryndamere that has a Kraken Slayer, then it probably shouldn't be a Kraken Slayer. That's where they're at. So what they have to do, I think, is just split push. Like, you probably just need to plant Zoranus in a side lane and just take the L as a trade. Everything's probably just going to be a trade now.
Kevy, getting zoned away from mid here. Things may not have gone as expected. Of course, Nash is still up at least, so if Order start to try to play for it, Direwolves, they are pushing. It looks like Order, they're happy to take the fight. They've got Zoranus starting to come around through the blue side, but Bio's here too, so matching these rotations. And Order, they've got 5. They know that Kyosei, one of the burst damage dealers, is not here for the fight, so Order are happy to take one.
They are starting to hunt so much more aggressively, like you mentioned. Kyosei not in the fight. Zoranus on the less protected side of the map. Ornn ulting.
Ooh, okay. Puma sending an ult straight with that one. However, Frost not going to be knocked up in that MF ult, so it's just going to be Direwolves looking to get to a safer position.
Yeah, it's forcing the Drake, I think, Mac. That's got to be the Vex ult.
Really looking for it, and at the same time, Bulldog will fall first once again, and Frost, he's got nothing to stop this damage coming through, and that's going to be Kisei to make that happen. Zoranus trying to make anything work for himself, coming in on the back lines, but again, has to just drop the old Undying Rage in time,
God,
but it's
Kisei.
another reset. And this may just be game. We know the soul is there. We know that they could take it, but they're not going to get too greedy, so they will go for the Drake instead.
The Baron is there, and they could easily go to that one for sure, but they're just going to prioritize third Drake like you mentioned. It's just free at this point. They'll be able to very easily take this one on the back of another series of picks and skirmishes that Order want. And when Order want it, it seems like they are just going to get it. You saw the first punch, right? It was an MF ult, it was an Ornn ultimate. The second punch is the killing blow as the Vex comes into the mix and just doesn't miss. Kisei just doesn't miss. He's doing so much damage now, 5 and 2 on this Vex. One hits almost everybody on the map.
Yeah, seems to have really reached the spike he was looking for. Looks like Goodo's found what he may not have been looking for, and he's been blasted into the pit of the red buff. Man's now in a rough position. That's a reset angle for Kevy, who makes his way in, and Direwolves just run the opposite direction. There's no hope for saving him because he's gone right now.
And if Frost shows on mid-wave Ornn ults as well, potentially, right? Like, you have to consider how strong Order are as a whole. Bio's just going to cross through mid. Zoranus is bot lane without teleport. He is not going to be able to trade a turret or push or anything. He'll just go for as many waves as he can. He'll do his bit. But Bio's doing his bit for the team. So I would say that this Ornn has proved to be incredibly valuable and is only just now getting towards those ornament items. So 4k gold lead becomes 5, 6, 7 as the levels come in.
Oh, they knew that Kyosei was there. There's no steal happening today, and Goodo, he was dead as well. So a rough situation there. Direwolves, they're going to be stuck in the red side jungle. Oh, and there's going to be another reset. Kyosei, he's just backing in the pit there. Oh!
How did he know?
Kisei!
How did he know?
He's just gone for a random ult that's almost worked out. It has another one coming through for Kevy, which, you know, enables him to jump over the wall, but it's just the kill that they were looking for. 3 members from Direwolves deleted.
He had no vision. How do you know? My man's has got Spidey senses at 11 right now. We'll watch the first pick once again. I'm telling you, the Vex don't miss. Everfrost comes through, make sure that he'll be able to get the one hit, and bang.
Oh, straight back to the action. Kisei falls. Maybe got a bit too big for his boots. The TP's coming in, and Bio gets the call of the Forge God out. Goodo will survive for now. Jumping back to Zoranus, of course, with the old W. And Kevy, you can't let this man get near you because he is just destroying. He's got a 700 gold bounty, so you don't want him to overextend either.
No, you don't want to give away another bounty for sure. I mean, that is the game plan for Direwolves at this point, right? Starting to fall so far behind that shutdown gold is invaluable. But their composition also does struggle a little bit from this point of a deficit. If the LeBlanc can't one-hit anyone, if the Lee Sin can't afford to go for a kick just because plain and simple it may not work, it becomes so hard to navigate your way around the map. The enemy team here of Order is so set for team fighting, and you can't split push. What do you actually do?
Maybe not right now, though. They've got this Baron buff. There is a couple of members of Direwolves looking to chase him down. Puma gets a good amount of damage out, but in the 4v2, how's it going to go? Kisei turns up as well, just in the nick of time. And Bulldog is going to fall once again, which starts these resets coming through. And Kevy is going to be chasing down Frost. There's another Kyosei. Man's on the other side of the tri-bush, but Order, they have the buff. They know that they can push out this bot lane and maybe score an inhib if Direwolves don't act fast. Well, look, 4 of them are dead, so there's no acting at all.
I mean, the wave's going to try and get cut here by Kyosei. We have to look at the wave that Order's working with. That's more than enough to end the game. We'll see how they choose to play this one out. You've got 5 seconds on Bulldog. I think the Bulldog ate Zoranus and they both instantly died together. That's how rough this game looked for the side of Direwolves.
I wondered where he went, but again, Bulldog, man's been getting deleted in seconds, and it looks like game number 2 is done and dusted as well, and Order are going to take it to a 2-0 scoreline. That is going to be a match point in game 3, Rusty.
And I mean, that's a huge dub from the side of Direwolves. Remember that a lot of us said this was going to be at least a 4-game series, but now we're staring down the barrel of a 3-0. Game number 1, from the jaws of defeat, to be clear, but game number 2 absolutely looks and continues to go the way of Order. A couple of shaky moments that I think absolutely should be highlighted, a couple of good skirmishes by Direwolves, but when it came to crunch, they were clearly the better team in this game.
Yeah, it definitely looked like that. There were a few moments, of course, where Direwolves definitely shined, but it was just answered every single time with Order doing something that little bit better. I think the only fight I remember Direwolves kind of winning was that skirmish over in the bot lane, and then it didn't even get won because Goodo couldn't catch up. The Order just matched them just in time. Now, look, let's bring back Luke and Kitty. I want to hear their thoughts on this game because that was a scorcher.
Yeah, that was an absolute set of dominance coming in from the from Order, right? The fact that, they came into this game number 2, it seems like they've really kind of shored up how they wanted to play here. They got a lot of the nerves, a lot of the jitters out. And Kitty, they made this one look clean. They came into this game number 2 and they really put the stamp on saying that these guys are the ones that were supposed to win the series. Well,
I believe that Dials actually played into Order's WinCon, where they wanted to play the 5v5 with that Ornn and MF in their comp. Meanwhile, DW drafted a Tryndamere, he built Kraken Slayer, he's splitting, but I believe Tahm Kench was engaging in mid lane for a 4v5. It was really hard for the side of Dials to actually engage those team fights. Tahm Kench was quite relatively squishy on due to his build. And looking at the comp from DW, they actually have a lot of dashes. So we see the Lee Sin dash, the LeBlanc dash, Ezreal E, and Tahm Kench W, where they're extremely mobile. So if Order do want to engage onto the team of Dials, it's going to be extremely hard because they're so mobile and they just jump out of the Ornn or maybe even the Vex ultimate, which is quite easy to do. But DW just kept wanting to fight with the Tryndamere, where they don't have a clear advantage in these 5v5s, other than this red buff fight, which was really well played by Kyose, but I don't think Dials actually played towards their WinCon, which was the Tryndamere splitting for the second half of the game.
Yeah, it certainly did feel like that, coming into this second game, that Direwolves looked a little bit less clean. Maybe that first game still is, weighing on their minds a little bit here, Mac, and now we're looking towards an Order who have got themselves in the hot seat and in the driver's seat now as well, because they certainly feel like they are starting to work a little bit more as a unit. They're really starting to get these team fights going forward and not being at such a big deficit and have to go for a Baron Burger flip to even get the dub.
Well, look, I don't know what they need to change, right? Like, maybe it's just the draft diff. I feel like looking at what Order picked this game, I personally liked it just because it was a bit more front to back than what we were seeing from Direwolves. They didn't seem to have as much tankiness. Bulldog was supposed to be the one that was, had the survivability, but he just was on the back foot from about that mid game, and it just kept on, as Rusty mentioned during the cast, turning into resets. It started kicking off Kevy's ability just to do his damn thing, and that's why if we had to do MVPs per game, he'd be my MVP right here, right now, because he just did so much for Order this game. Although the damage, having a look at the graphs here, was definitely Kisei just landing a lot from afar.
Yeah, we could really see that these mid laners are starting to step up here for both these teams, and we really did, kind of highlight both these players to be a little bit of something for either one of them. And I think, going forward into game number 3, we're really looking towards Kyose to have another big carry performance, albeit it did play extremely well this time around as well, Rusty, but, it just wasn't enough to get the boys over the line.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of the LeBlanc Lee Sin priority. For me, I'd be changing perhaps top or AD carry for champions to work with what they're picking around mid-jungle. That's the joys of drafting in a best-of series, right? You've got the ability to actually adapt those things that clearly aren't working for you, even if in theory there's a possibility that they do. But BioPanther is quietly achieving, I will say, Mac. Though you do say that there's maybe a mid-jungle MVP contention. That's a weak side monster on that Ornn.
Look, yeah, big man in the top lane, certainly doing a whole lot of work so far for Order. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to go to a break and give this extra bit of time to these teams to see what they can bring out for game number 3. And speaking of game number 3, it's just around the corner, so make sure you guys join us for more LCO playoffs just after this.
Going to be ignited, but he is not going to die. First blood found by Order, and this time it's looking like a better start. However, Goodo might come in for the cleanup, janitorial duties on the list, and the man, he's hungry for Corporal, but Puma's just hitting him, and Corporal might survive. He does! There's no way that that's allowed. Kisei comes in to find another as well, and things go south so damn quickly for Direwolves.
Hey, look, Menulog.
Ezreal? Has to be, yeah.
Nailed it first go. Great. Congratulations.
Well, I think we said that at the same time as well.
I think we did. Hey,
Yeah,
I'll give you
nice.
1 point each.
Yeah, nice.
Where's my
We
pen?
take
1
those.
point.
The men were in sync for that one. Really being able to get the Ezreal laugh out there nice and fast. I do respect it myself. No, that was pretty quick. Usually it's Kitty the one that's smurfing all the sounds and all the pictures and literally
Everything.
LCO champion conundrum that we do. She literally just smashes it out of the park. But either way, don't have any of those today. We do have a game on our hands and a full best of 5 as well. And I think, Mac, right now with a 2-0 lead for Order, you're certainly going to be coining these guys to be able to wrap it up 3-0, right?
Yeah, it looks like that. Of course, Direwolves, the coach said that their mental wasn't affected going into that second game, but it seems like something changed. We had a chat. Look, it might be the draft. It might be the fact that, they're less experienced. But Order, of course, when they're confident, that is when they play best, right? And the confidence coming out of game 1 turned into a good game in game 2. The confidence coming out of game 2 means it's probably going to turn into a confident game 3.
Well, I guess, the next question for you then, Kitty, is when we go in towards this draft for game number 3, are we expecting to see any changes coming in from the Direwolves and, maybe a different kind of bot side for them?
I was actually just thinking about this. I believe if Direwolves do get rid of the Tryndamere, because we have seen Biopantha and Kisei pick that before in the regular season, so if they get rid of the Tryndamere, I believe if Direwolves just go back to a Karma mid and play the 2 Enchanters again, these 5v5s are basically unlosable because it seems that Order likes opting into these 5v5 comps with the Orin, so it's going to be extremely hard to, juke it out in the mid lane, but I do believe that Karma does have the upper hand for those fights, especially when you see MF 2 games in a row and all her damage comes from that ulti.
I mean, we really haven't seen all too many enchanters floating around in these last couple of drafts, right, Rusty? It feels like a lot of these teams are really starting to gravitate towards those tanky engaged champs a whole lot more in that support role.
I mean, that's actually, to echo Kitty's sentiment though, the place where it could change is mid, right? It could actually just be that Karma mid lane instead of support. It could be, because it's Bulldog playing, it could actually just be like a Rakan, Xayah bot lane angle for them, right? We've seen the Xayah, we know the Bulldog is a very good Rakan player. I would much prefer to have the Camille win condition top lane than I would anything else for Zarinus as well. So if there was things that I would change, it's possible to go double Enchanter. It's also possible just to play a single Enchanter and have a lot more reliance on Gudo having a pop-off game, which he can.
Yeah, and I think he's certainly been one of those players that can really start to pull things together. Mac, when we started talking about these two teams together, we looked towards these mid-jungle duos a lot. And I think, if you're able to give Gudo a very simple kind of game plan and really allow him to carry, this could be a Direwolves dub, and maybe we go into game number 4.
Yeah, look, I feel like the way that we've seen the wins come both times for Order is definitely the mid-jungle duo, right? You've got Kevy. In the first game, he had the Zillion, just speeding them up and enabling him to have not only the extra movement speed, but the extra damage there on the Hecarim. And then in the second game, Kevy was always there trying to help out Kisei. And it's just, look, the double Ks, man, they're always together. They're always having a good damn time. And there's a couple of other factors as well. But look, when we're talking about the specific mid-jungle duo, I feel like that's not where Direwolves have been winning it. In their team fights, a lot of the time, Gudo seems to be trying to be in the right place, and it just seems like, even though we know he's got a really high skill ceiling in terms of his mechanics, he's missed a couple of Qs, and that has definitely cost Direwolves in the last couple of games. So maybe he is really feeling that pressure.
Maybe. And that's something that we're going to have to answer as we get in towards game number 3. And before we get there, it is time for that Dare Fan vote one more time here for you guys at home. You can put your channel points on the line to see who you think is going to win this third game. Could be the final game of tonight for us here in the first day of playoffs, or we could be seeing a bit more of an extended series. 6-0 for a whole day. I don't know. I wasn't, when we came into this, you guys are all hyping this up to be a full 5 mapper. But, I mean, at this point, Rusty, it's kind of looking like a 3-0, right?
It's hard not to say that it's looking like a 3-0 after that second game, because momentum is a big factor in best of 5 series. And 2-0 down, there is all the momentum against you. Winning that third game, though, however, is the ultimate way to start the reverse sweep. So there's still hope for Direwolves.
I mean, true, it is the one step that you need to get towards trying to, figure out this entire series. I guess it is kind of starting to get late as well, right? It's, approaching on to 10 p.m. for us here in Sydney, and the fact that even some of these players might be playing a little bit later on in the night. And I mean, Kitty, fatigue certainly starts getting towards these players, right? It's a whole lot of these matches for us to start to talk about. But Kitty, before I get that, there is something special that I need to give these guys in the middle, and it's Champ Select. So let's jump into game number 3, ladies and gentlemen. Kitty, I'll figure out your ideas after this.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now, that question that was directed at Kitty, I feel like should have been directed at someone with a much more normal sleeping pattern, because I do remember Kitty loves some late night gaming, from what we've been told.
Do you have a normal sleeping pattern, Mac?
The missus is definitely trying to get me
I've
to...
had 4 hours in the past 2 days, so the question's at you. Take it away, expert.
Okay, well, sleeping, it's fun time. You don't do much, you sort of just lay like a plank. Anyway, let's talk about draft real quick, because we're already into that bloody first phase. We got Naught again for Direwolf, so we're not going to see that enchanter that Kitty, that you were calling for, saying maybe it's something that they need to do. But every time we've seen Bulldog play, he really loves the hard engaged champs, right? He's not that fond of the enchanters, so maybe they're leaning to him. Is that like an issue? And what are we seeing here from Order?
I mean, he's got a cheeky karma in the champ pool for sure, so again, it was possible, especially because it's flexible, but that's one of the things that Order has banned all series.
Yeah.
They are so aware of that, they're not going to allow that to exist. And Nautilus is actually something that I was musing about with Kitty off air, or in the break rather, between games, because it's just easy, tanky, right? Like, it just cover girl, it just kind of does it all.
Yeah.
And you can pick anything with it. Any ADC goes with the Nautilus perfectly fine. Trist if you want to be hyper-aggressive. Kai'Sa if you want to have scaling and flexibility in draft. Zeri, as you're seeing now, it's going to take away from a Zeri Leona lane, but it also just works fine with the Nautilus. Like, he just works with everything. He's just got a big hook, he does his job, he's a tanky boy that stuns stuff, and you have a good time with it. So I like this already so much more from Direwolves, because if Bulldog's got that killer instinct, he's going to be a genuine tank this time around.
Yeah, not just have that, little shield to occasionally be there. And Direwolves, they get that Viego away from Order by picking it, although Kevy looks like he's already picked that Lee Sin anyway, so a little bit, mute point. But that being said, bit of Zeri coming through, and I'd love to see some Zeri. So earlier ADC pick there for Direwolves. Is it going to be spicy? And Kisei has gone back to the Zillion as well.
Yeah, and this is going to go back to Game 1's draft phase, right? Where they pick Zillion, they ban LeBlanc, they ban away things that have a really good time against it in mid lane, and they try and force Kyrosam into something a little bit less comfortable that doesn't always win the 1v1. The Sylas was good, though. So we can't take away the value from the Sylas without considering this for the last ban of Order and what they choose to go for here. Just to quickly recap, though, right, with the Viego locked in, we mentioned this last game in draft, it is very good into the Lee Sin matchup. The Zeri being locked in as the sole AD locked means that AD bans are sure to follow. And they're looking for champions that work decently well with the Leona here as a coupling. And I like that Ashe ban a lot. I'm actually a little bit sad that we haven't seen more Ashe coming into 12.5B.
Yeah, true.
I just think that Ashe is really good right now, especially when you're starting to see things like Misfortune, like Xayah, like Varus even rise up in priority. Ashe does a similar job.
Yeah, she had that slight buff, right? And of all the players we've seen this split playing Ashe, there's only one of them, and that's Puma. So taking that away from him is kind of sad, because as you mentioned, I would too like to see a bit of Ashe on the Rift. So final ban coming through. What are we going to see? Well, not a Xayah. So that's straight out of there. Again, ADCs being banned off. Now, what are we going to expect? And are Order going to pick their ADC now, or are they going to go for top lane first?
I mean, to be clear here as well, Order have played 11 different ADCs throughout the split, none of them majors. Puma can still play majors, and we just haven't even needed to see that yet. So there you go. Look, the champion pool runs deep for the man, but this is a different kettle of fish to what we're used to seeing. The Vayne has just been straight locked, and we know that some teams like Direwolves can flex that Vayne to top lane. Order, they don't do that. Their top laner is a tank player. So this is just a Vayne ADC into a Zeri Nautilus lane.
With that cannon pick, though. Oh, and some Syndra as well for Kiyose. We've been waiting for this for a while. It seems like we haven't got to see the Syndra on Kiyose for a time. I think he's got it through, once, maybe twice this split so far? So
Yeah,
the Control Mage, how's that fit into this comp?
He picked it twice, I think, in 1 week, Mac. And then I'm pretty sure he just has like a 74 million KDA with 1 death total from the whole week.
Yeah.
And just like stamped his foot down and said, actually, the LCO can play Syndra. I'm just choosing not to until I need it. And he's an absolute superstar on those control mages that are aggressive. You've seen his LeBlanc, you know what he's capable of. But this is a Syndra angle. And it's a very exciting Syndra angle at that, just because of the carry potential. However, Mac, it is into a Zillion that can hard counter you with the ultimate. If you by design kill one champion with your burst, he by design stops that. So it is still a Zilean angle, perfectly fine.
Yeah.
The question is, how does the Vayne work into a very punishing mid lane champion? Because you're a low range carry right now, and you are dealing with Kennen, Viego, Syndra, Zeri, and Nautilus. This Vayne is going to be murdered.
Well, what are we expecting from Zoranus here as well? Because we did ask last week, we said we wanted to see some more Kennen, and we're finally getting it here.
Yeah, and it's also into the Ornn, so he could even consider going super greedy with his runes if he wanted as well, right? Maybe go for a first strike. Airy is the obvious choice, I think, just because it's so easy to get those auto attacks and harass off the entire time. Basically, Zoranus has said, I'm going to team fight, I'm going to match you, Biopanther. You will not have the team fight advantage, but I am also going to control this laning phase because I'm not giving you everything for free. It is still a weak side Titan game for Bio. It's the rest of the map for Direwolves that are going to be super aggressive, though, while they're isolated.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Game 3 of this best-of-5 series. Direwolves, lives on the line. It all boils down to this game. They need to fight for 3 in a row if they want to get the dub. If they don't want to be eliminated from the playoffs here in the LCO, and Order need just one more game. That is what it boils down to, and I'm keen to see exactly how this bit of a different comp from Direwolves plays out, because we're seeing, as you mentioned, Rusty, something pretty similar from Order to their first game.
Yeah, we certainly are, barring the difference in AD champions, right? I think it's fair to say that still is going to be protected, but there is just so much incidental damage as well on the Direwolves composition, but it is Direwolves on the chase. It is Direwolves that need 3 dubs to have any shot of staying in the LCO for this split map, or they are eliminated, as is the loser of this best-of-5 full stop, as Goodo's an absolute menace. How do you think when this exists?
Just headbanging, bro. Let him go. You know, he's just listening to some metal on the side.
Also, Kevy, with the utmost respect shown by a jungler there, I will say, didn't cue the Viego, intentionally missed. Because he's a good bloke.
Was it not a read?
That's etiquette, actually.
Was it not a read? Was it not like, oh, he's going to try to dodge
Nah, no, not at all, no. Because Goodo's stuck in his animation of headbanging, man.
Ah, true.
There's no way he's juking. That's just good guy Kevy. Knows the laws of the land for level 1 animation spamming.
But maybe it wasn't headbanging. Maybe Goodo was bowing to pay his respects to God
Aggressive
Kevy.
speed bowing.
Yeah. Actually, I don't want to do it. I've got a sore neck at the moment. And you guys can't see it, so to be breaking my neck for nothing. Now, look, looking at these jungle starts, it's red start again for both. And it seems like we might see Lee go for a early gank somewhere, because he's dodged those Krugs, as opposed to Goodo, who's going for that red side clear.
Yeah, listen, starting on the red side with no leash is definitely looking to just go camp to camp. I think I'm surprised he did stop for the Raptors, I'll be honest, just because he could have gone red-blue Gromp, right? One thing that we are looking at in mid lane, as the observers are keenly pointing out, is that Kyosei absolutely bodies Kyosei in this matchup early. That is just the nature of Zilean v Syndra. The Syndra wants to punish you for every single minion that you attempt to last hit early if you're not using the bomb. And if you've wasted the bomb, she walks up.
Well, looks like Corporal, bit of harass, nice and early, jumping straight on into Bulldog, looking to make him have a rough start to the game again. Now Frost open for some damage, but Corporal realizes, look, that's going to cost me my life, so he'll just run back away to the bush for the moment. Just goes back to farming.
Actually a nice trade though by Bulldog, waiting for the aftershock and the W of the Leona to run out for as long a time as possible before going for the re-engage and hitting the hook. Just hits the auto attack right to make sure there's a glacial field on the ground, reduces the damage being dealt. It is ultimately just going to be a health trade, however, by both supports. One thing for this bottom lane matchup as well though, Mac, is there's no heal for the side of Direwolves. It's the cleanse for Frost, and it is the ignite for Bulldog, where it is exhaust heal on the opposing side.
Yeah.
So you would say that it is logical from Order's side to be engaging onto Bulldog, who doesn't have the aftershock, right? Because you can just deal more damage to him, and the cleanse will get him out safely if you're Frosts, and that could be a losing trade then.
Really just playing around the runes. Nice and early, and Kevy, he is hungry. We'll start the back in the bush, but there's absolutely no movement, so we'll see if Direwolves push this wave out slightly. Kevy really just trying to figure out if there's a ward on him here, and it looks like it's just a matter of moments. Corporal jump into the bush, you can see them posturing, waiting to make the gank work.
It's so hard, but the wave is so good. Frost can jump this wall. So you have to remember, if Kevy goes into the play, then Frost just disengages over the wall. But if Kevy waits and Corporal and Puma engage, there's a chance it goes straight into the waiting arms of that Lee Sin. But nevertheless, their vigilance pays off. They'll have the wards down. They'll stop Kevy from having a crack at all.
Yeah.
And it is just going to be clear into reset. This is an advantage, however, for Gudo, who's been fast clearing and recalling this entire time.
Well, Corporal again, just going to try to edge some damage off, but Frost so damn fast on the Zeri, and he's going to make life hard for Corporal too. So shoving that wave straight under the tower and looking to make this reset happen.
Super nice little play actually by Puma. Something that may go unnoticed from that skirmish is the Condemn pushed Bulldog back so that his hook buffered and just hit the wall instead of an enemy champion. So perhaps what could have been a summoner burned or a trade like the Ignite kill threat on Corporal does just go completely missing. And so it means they will just be able to reset eventually when Corporal commits to that one. Who's not committing.
No backs coming out from top lane just yet. Looks like we are going to see Bio go for a quick old reset. Of course, he doesn't have anywhere near as much prio there in lane because Ken Boyzorinus just able to do what he does. So Bio burns that TP at the 5-minute mark. And it looks like Order just zoning Gudo away means they've got this Drake for free.
Yeah, so they kind of saw the recalls potentially coming out by Direwolves. They have enough control of the map as a result of those bases. They also saw Gudo crossing from bot to top. So they know that this objective is going to be untouched. And if you're Direwolves, you're a little bit confused. Because this Leona has been off the map for like 3 minutes. Just gone. No idea where he is. He's just been hovering around his Lee Sin as he invades aggressively. And they will eventually get the Drake. It does still mean, though, and you're seeing the movements from Gudo, this Viego should be super far ahead in experience. After that Drake, it is 4 to 5 in levels. And there is a Krug camp to potentially take here, which will get Gudo 6. So it is just ticking over to 5 for Lee Sin for the whole 6 for Gudo. Very far ahead in his jungle experience.
Yeah, good reaction as well, knowing that they were, of course, on the Drake, so there's no one top side. So hit him with the invade, steal that XP away. Now, with the ult, are we going to see an attempt at a gank here? Bio's just way too safe and way too tanky, of course.
I don't think you dive and ignite on. I think you try and dive and ignite on, he kills you.
Yeah.
Let's be very specific. It is an unsealed spellbook on that is switched to ignite after teleporting. It is the standard 6-minute swap for skirmishing power. You hit level 6, you actually have a window to 1v1 any champion in the game. If you play it well, because you have the ignite lead.
Ooh. Look at Kevy, stealing away that red buff, so looks like we've got vertical jungling today. Now, what's going to happen off the back of it? And are we going to see Kevy try to go for a gank because this blue bot lane is starting to push out a little bit. However, it seems like Kisei really wants some help at mid. Kyosei low on mana too, so maybe it works out. He's jumping in.
Oh, he's a cheeky
it's just
devil.
a shove.
Yeah, and Kevy's actually just there for the experience. Picks level 6 though, so Gudo's about to find 2 of them, potentially face-checking him, but the time bomb doesn't get used in the bush. So it goes unnoticed. Kyosei does have teleport, but wouldn't be there for a play, so it's probably not worth happening. And I guess we should really highlight at this point, Mac, that it's been a super quiet and passive laning phase, but both teams have champions that are pretty comfortable with that. Vayne wants to scale. Zillion wants to scale. Ornn has a tier item as well. So the side of Order are so comfortable just farming. Nice
it
steal.
Seems that Direwolves, you know, they know that their tournament lives are on the line, so they're not trying to overextend. They don't want to be punished too early, because of course that could turn into a snowball for Order, which we have maybe seen last game. Now,
exactly.
Don't want history to repeat itself in that regard. Kisei farming in here, and Gudo looking to try to trade objectives and eventually get this Herald. They've got numbers here. It doesn't look like Order's going to contest at all.
Yeah, the 8-minute map flip comes across by the side of Direwolves. You can see the Bulldog gets here extremely fast. Zeri here for good measure will also get spotted on wards right now at the Raptor camp as he walks back bottom. So that is confirmation that it is just Herald secured. And Direwolves, Order rather, clearly showed no intent to contest that one because they were resetting at the 8-minute mark, right? They weren't on the map for it. They found Bulldog.
Bulldog is able to hook away, but Corporal's staying real damn sticky on him, chasing him. Okay, Gudo. Kevy rather going to be able to land the Q, and he's hit the knock kick as well. So all of a sudden, you got Bulldog who just burns Was it a Hex Flash over the wall? I don't even know.
Well, Frost in trouble here, Mac.
3v1, tucked away and looking to just get as much done as possible. There's going to be no minions in the way, and oh, he's done. He's absolutely roasted. Put some spices on him. He'll taste good later.
He's been done in. Goodo's going to summon the Herald top lane, however, though. And we talk about top lane being isolated. It has been a couple of cheeky plates taken 1v1 by Zoranus, and that could add up. Goodo not going to summon the Herald here, though, at all. Perhaps Biopanther just showing enough signs of defiance that they'll back away. So Bulldog in that little skirmish bottom as well, just quietly. Could have flashed earlier. But the flash kick hard to predict.
My brain was still catching up. I was like, he can't use Hex Flash that quick, and it's because Mac, he used Flash, and that's why it's showing Hex Flash.
He used the real Flash in that, but he used it after he was basically already dead.
Yeah, a little late. Unfortunate. So, but it's fortunate for Order, right? Because they burned the Flash as well as get the kill. Bulldog didn't hold on to that. But at least he's got that Hex Flash to maybe make something happen. However, there's a whole lot of action going on in the bot lane, and Frost falling as well means Puma just has so much more prior to just do what he really wants here, because of course, you know, these Veins, when they start to get a bit of a snowball on, that's when things get scary.
So a couple of points here for Order as a composition. One, the Zilean is incredibly important and clutch for keeping Vayne alive come team fights for sure. First game of the series, we saw a really, really impressive Zilean, to be fair, as well from Kisei. So
yeah.
A lot of high expectations, I would say, for the mid laner of Order coming into this game. The second thing is the experience that you can give to either your jungler or your support. Gives Corporal 6, and that means that Puma can sit bot lane by himself, Mac, with isolated experience and actually pull ahead. But the Drake is being hit.
They're just going to summon that Herald, get some plate, cash, and not going to be able to get to that Drake in time, but they are going to be able to make it a fight. Zoranus tries to flash away, but it's going to cost him his life, and now, just like that, they're a man down. Bulldog, he's going to get deleted as well, and Direwolves, they're in a rough position, but Kiyose, he can see those chipped away at health bars, and he knows he can dish some damage if he needs to. But Kisei gets a bit of poke himself. No one's staying though, so Kiyose will be safe and sound, but it's cost them a few lives. At least they got the Drake.
I mean, yeah, they managed to get the objective, but they were completely picked off. The Ornn ultimate, I think, might have been buffered through a stun from Kiyose, so you can't ask for much more here from Biopanther. You'll see that there. And actually, it wasn't a stun. It was an EQ, not a QE. So it didn't actually stop him from hitting the ultimate. Zoranus gets completely caught out of position. You can see the rest of Dial was just completely stuck on the disengage. Kiyose also about 2 seconds away from having ult there. Would have at least forced a Zilean ultimate. Or timing checked him on his reactions. But either way, it is still hugely advantageous for the side of Order.
Kevy again. Off to a decent lead in the jungle. Man's got himself that 300 gold bounty on his head, which, you know, could be a gift in disguise. Could be cursed, depending on if he gets caught out of position. But the man's so damn mobile here on the Lee Sin. It just means that Direwolves, they really have to invest a lot of that CC on him to lock him down. But at the same time, if you kill him once, you might have to kill him twice, because Zilean exists, right? So
yeah. It's hard to kill a Vayne more than once with the mobility that he can have with the ultimate there as well. We'll see how they manage to perform this one, right? A big flank from a cannon could be game-winning. If you go for the Zilean in a team fight, it means the Vayne won't actually have the ability to be saved. That is generally the rule of thumb when playing against the Zilean composition, is kill the Zilean and then go for the carry after. AoE is a very good way to go for both, and it means that positioning has to be actually perfect. So there's still definitely a lot of pressure there from the side of Order to continue to perform, because we know the potential of this Direwolves composition. But so far, it's just been laning as usual, and I would say Order are more comfortable in a lane state that goes even. 2 tiers and a Vayne, right? They're absolutely happily scaling.
okay, looks like we've got a bit of action happening in the mid. Goodo really wanted to go into Kisei there, but it looks like it might have turned for a moment. Corporal jumping in, staying tanky. Goodo maybe overstaying his welcome as Kevy's going to try to chase, but the Q's going to miss, so it could just be a disengage. Hook goes back the other way, and Bulldog not going to be able to commit to pulling that fish right back in. So nothing happens in the end of that. It's just a whole bunch of traded bloody abilities, and now a bit of traded damage down in the bot lane as well. Puma knows that if you've got that extra right click off, he's got the passive, he's got the pop power, and that's worked out.
And that was without a mythic. Order are now face checking Gudo.
Oh, could be in trouble, but we've got an early rotation coming through from Direwolves. However, Order, they brought numbers 2. Corporal leaves us for now. Kisei not going to be able to make it over the top. Big from Kyosei to stop Kisei from jumping through. So there goes the Zil, but it's the ult that saves him. But for how long? There's no one here to fish him out. So it's just going to be another kill going to Direwolves. And is that going to be enough?
That is so much better, though, from the side of Direwolves. I'm not sure it's enough to give them anything other than money, but they do need that injection of gold desperately to continue to stay in this game with a point of strength. Kyosei plays it well. Gudo, I mean, he does super well to get the initial jump, but the MVP, the hero of that play, was Zoranus being there first, being in the forefront and having a massive ultimate as he crashes down with the lightning. And it's all about getting that first reset, just like any Viego game. Oh, hold that. All right, Black Kyosei.
See you later. A little rough for Direwolves after, you know, all that they managed to swing back in their direction. And now that could be this mid tower going. However, Gudo and Bulldog are here to try to save it. Got to keep this map closed up. Not let Order have too much mid prio, so smacks him away.
So, Mac, there's a couple of things that I wanted to hit for that last little skirmish that went the way of Direwolves, because there was a mechanic, or interaction rather, in mid, right in that previous fight that is a big point for what happens at that blue buff.
All right, talk to me.
When a cannon goes in, you want to Lee Sin kick them away, right? I feel like that's obvious, or you want to exhaust them.
Yeah.
The Lee Sin kick got buffered by Viego ult. So in mid, Lee Sin tried to actually kick Gudo, who just pressed R at the same time, and it fizzled completely. I think a Lee Sin kick in that blue buff skirmish could have made a pretty significant difference.
Okay. Tries to change the tone of it all. It seemed like Direwolves in that fight as well, they had some decent vision, so they seemed to know that Order were coming for them, going for the aggressive play. And that brings me to ask, are Order getting a little overconfident now? They know that they've got 3 games left and they just need to win one of them. So are they going to start to take a few more risks here?
I think they already have taken a couple of risks with their draft. But as it comes to play, I don't think they've gone for anything too crazy. In reality, I just think they, like that fight that happens at blue, I think they just perhaps thought that Direwolves were based. The Direwolves are a team that have proven already in this series that they're very good at being where you don't expect them to be, playing the map in a very different, unpredictable way. And they've found a lot of success through that. But Order are also such a good mechanical team, Mac, that it's not always going to work, right? Like, Frost stays, tries to go for the 1v1. They go for the AD ego matchup, and then Puma, without his mythic, beats the full Trinity Force on Frost, because why not?
Well, that's it, right? Puma, single target damage, name a better bloody duo. And that's why those objectives are going to get melted later on in the game. You already saw it happen with the Drake. Of course, it needs to be mentioned, Drake and Herald did get traded. But that Earth Drake, is that worth it? Like, what's worth more in that scenario, right? Is the Herald and how many charges it could potentially get worth more, or is that single Drake?
The Herald is always worth less until the charge is successful. That's the easiest way to explain it, right? You get the Rift Herald, you know you've got the possibility to break a whole turret, if not more, if the Herald is successful. But if you go for the Drake, you have the immediate value. You also have the value and threat of a soul afterwards. So it's basically that kind of trade-off.
I think in terms of Herald usage, we've seen Direwolves have a better time because I think they've just had more Heralds so far this series. That first one where they managed to get the triple charge was absolutely egregious. But this game, it seems to be a little bit harder to make good use of it. Now, Gudo could definitely open up mid with it, but we'll see if they want to do that. Of course, there's numbers here for Order at the moment.
It seems like they're going to plant themselves mid. As this game progresses as well, by the way, Vayne owns Zeri. I think it's the short of it, right? Vayne is one of the best dueling ADCs.
Yeah.
And Vayne also is very adept at planting her feet in side lanes and pressuring. But the reality is, I think if Puma and Frost are ever meeting 1v1 and combat is forced, usually you would say that Puma is just winning that. It's the 5v5 where Puma has the risk of dying. It's also the hook on.
Oh, it's the 4-on-4 at mid, and instantly that Zillion ult's going to be used to keep Puma alive. But the man's got so much damage, and Direwolves are surviving for the moment. Gudo going to be able to almost make it away. However, sniped That Kisei bomb was just way too much. Just trying to get away with the AoE. However, we got Frost coming in and the man's got movement speed. The man is kiting and following Order straight under the tower. We do have the head charge straight back in, and Order just like that going to be able to turn the fight. Bit of a gourd drinker usage as well on the Lee Sin to keep him alive, and that is a huge turn. Order, the small health bars, baited them back in, and it's the ace, Rusty.
I mean, Frost tries his absolute little heart out, but at the end of the day, BioPanther is just too strong. The resolve to hold on to that dash knocks up the Zeri. The follow-through is there from Order, and suddenly the outer turret breaks. The top lane outer turret as well is at risk of dying.
Look at the damage.
And the biggest thing in this fight is the exhaust is on the cannon, I believe, and the Zillion ultimate connects before the Nort knocks him up. So they get that reset, the exhaust is on. They have no more damage than his AoE to keep Puma down. You can see the Syndra ultimate was used afterwards, but Kyosei actually runs it down to try and take Puma out. He doesn't play with the team. They'll get the shutdown eventually, but at this point, Frost sees the Q come out from Bai, he's like, oh god, but then stands next to the wall, gets knocked up. Can't cleanse his way out of all of that, and I think the dash actually might have been cancelled by Leona. So they do really well on the side of Order to follow through on that play. They just hit the execution, man.
The point that I noticed as well was just when Kevy activated the Gourd Drinker. He was in between like 3 members. He had like an inch of HP, so they were targeting him. But again, just managed to mitigate it as well. So great macro and great micro, all there from Order in that fight. Just drawing Direwolves into an overextension, which could have been, you know, just 2 kills to Order. But Direwolves got hungry. So we'll see how they act from here. They've lost that mid tower. Order have as well. But I feel like Order, just with, you know, this lead of about 4k at the moment, means that they can sort of just run around and bully as long as they're going together. And that's what we're maybe about to see. Kevy jumping straight in with the Q, and all of a sudden Good On for us could be in trouble. They've got the tower at least here to survive, but they just need to tuck away and not give away any more kills to Order here.
Zoranus is quite fast with that lightning rush, so he will at least get himself out to safety. It's not a Zillion Hecarim composition. Keep that in mind. It is just a Lee Sin that runs a little bit faster. But he has a Guardian Angel on, so he doesn't need a Zillion ultimate when he makes the plays. The Zillion ultimate can be saved for the Vayne. And Direwolves to walk in for these plays. I mean, that last fight started literally with a hook onto the Vayne. You can't ask for more from Bulldog. And it was still a loss. It is so hard to actually get in and access these team fights successfully now if Direwolves do not have the jump, if they don't have the vision control, if they're not forcing Order to come towards them.
Look, with each one of these Mountain Drakes that's picked up by Order as well, it just makes them that little more tanky and that little more hard to kill for Direwolves, because they just don't have damage there if they don't have Frost there. You can see in that other team fight, they were doing so much work, and now Goodo could be in trouble. He's going to be kicked back up the old Q. Kisei's here to try to dish out damage. There's more done. There's the pick off, and there's no hope for Direwolves to turn that one around. And look, Goodo's dead. So Nash, he's here, and he's on the cards.
And I mean, if you give away this Nash, you're probably on death's door here for Direwolves. It is so hard to stay in this game when it feels like you are being outscaled, out-team fought, and just outmatched. Zoranus is going to try and walk his way in. Hook just goes wide, Mac, but Baron is on the way down really fast.
He's certainly getting low, and Kevy's got that smite at the ready. Zoranus trying his best. He's forced the smite out early, and now they're just looking for the damage. Zoranus gets absolutely deleted, and if all of Direwolves fall, there's a chance that this could be an in him going to the wayside. Looks like that might just happen. Bulldog gets the hook off, but the man, it's going to be hard for him and Goodo to defend together. Well, there's a wave coming in too, so maybe a chance to stop the siege of the base, but Bulldog's out of it, and Goodo needs to hope that he's going to be able to stop this wave of minions and 5 Order players from sieging. They're going to give it away.
I mean, Goodo being alive will at least deter them attempting to push for an inhibitor, but that is a Baron, that is a huge team fight once again. It is an exhaust going onto a Cannon who is trying to flank, but is the sole person in all of these skirmishes doing damage.
Yeah.
It is so simple for Order to play a team fight out when there is just a Cannon to be afraid of. Because BioPanther is just going to stand and deliver. Kisei is going to zone control, and then he gets into the pit, right? Is exhausted, is stunned, is just locked down. There's no way out, no safety, condemned into a wall, and Bio's just kept them all busy. So super easy to get the first kill. It's not a reset comp, but it is so much easier to play when they have the pick, when they have the advantage. Order don't look like slowing down.
you just feel bad for the Direwolves boys. They've come so far this split, and it looks like, you know, as you mentioned, they are very close to knocking on death's door because they could be done and out in that 5th position. Oh, the cheese play. Okay. Are they going to expect this one? Direwolves have been sitting here for a time. They've got the control ward. And Kissei, he's here with a nice little bounty on his head, but there's a few more Order members have at least baited out the ultimate, and then the TP coming through. Bio, he wants in. It's going to be a 5-on-5 just like that. Heavy man is low, but not dealt with just yet. And again, it's just the defense of the tower. Kevy falls eventually. And they know without that Zillion ult that maybe there's a chance here. Bulldog so low, he's going to be absolutely picked off by a bit of poke coming through, and Order turn it. Direwolves tried too hard, and there's still a bit of time. 50 more seconds on the Baron buff. Let's see how much Order can take with it.
And they've just got so many people down now. I don't think Hyosei can do anything. A Syndra can't stop a Baron buff push, so it is just going to be an inhibitor here as a minimum. Biopanther is a tank, so he is able to make sure the turret is hitting him and not that one hero minion. That one absolute savior for them. It's just doing everything.
Oh, this is surely it can't be game. There's like 10 seconds on a couple of the respawns, but how's the damage and how much more can these Order players take? They're all taking turns and doing it. They're focusing. There it is. The Nexus. It is getting deleted, destroyed, and Dunskies. Direwolves, pack your bags. You're out of the LCO, and Order are going to carry on into that next game next week.
And a huge best-of-5 win from Order in general, right? A big statement game. A lot of people have touted Order coming into playoffs as a best-of-5 team. We should know, and we should expect good things from them as they try and make the run from the lower bracket. And they kick it off with a 3-0 victory over Direwolves. Challenged in game number 1, I will say, Mac, but game 2 and 3, it never really felt like they were ever in doubt. It always felt like they had the snowball going exactly the way that they wanted, and Direwolves playing into their hand.
That was it, right? Look, 12k gold lead at the end and 21-4 the scoreline for kills. It just seemed like there was only minimal opportunities for Direwolves to even get picks, even get kills, and, you know, have success in those team fights. At the end, you could see Direwolves, they wanted it, they committed to it, but it inevitably sealed their fate, right? Because they died, there was a bloody wave, the hero half-health minion, if you want to call it a wave. And, of course, a couple of tanky boys able to just take those shots as well. But a big, big win for Order. I don't think anyone actually predicted that 3-0. But again, if you look back to last year on the LCO, there was a lot of 3-0s in playoffs. So I'm not actually surprised that we ended up here. Now, Luke, Kitty, are you guys surprised?
No. I mean, after, you know, exactly what Rusty said, right? Like, after you saw that game number 2, you kind of put this one in the bag for Order. The fact that they looked so confident after getting that game 1 victory, they were like, okay, this is where we really start to shine. And they really brought it back. And I think the fact that Order are really starting to look on the up and up now, Rusty, is a good sign for them for the rest of their playoffs, because this is a heck of a run they have to make. They have to make a huge run through this lower bracket gauntlet to even have a sniff at the grand final.
And listen, they did this while sick. So not only do they win a 3-0, they win a 3-0 while sick, and they've earned a good week's rest. That is the most important part, right? They don't have to play. I believe tomorrow is Chiefs vs Pentanet.gg, and then we have a week off. So they will be so thankful that they got in and out in 3 games, and they can just go back and rest and recover.
Well, that was what they were playing for, right? Just to get to bed early.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, you know, they've earned the week off, right? Like, getting 3-0. Also, obviously, you know, that little video that we showed before this series started, Corporal was saying that it wasn't even really sure why the Direwolves were in the playoffs. But at this point, it goes to show that these guys are really trying to get towards that top spot. And they put Direwolves away in a convincing fashion in these last 2 games. Yes, game number 1 was a bit of an anomaly with that Baron Burger flip, but this is where these teams really start to stand up, and this is where these championship squads start to stand up, right, Mac? And this is why we talk about experience versus inexperience. And when you get behind the 8 ball, it's so hard for the underdogs, the inexperienced kids, to really start to corral together and bring back from something that looked like this.
But at least it's experience, right? That's what Direwolves was sort of playing for. Look, obviously they were playing for glory, they were playing for the W, but it just doesn't work like that sometimes. So the players that all have played playoffs in the past finally showed that they are definitely the better team here today and are looking to go and get another dub over Peace, which could definitely happen. But look, let's talk about the damage dealt. Look, Zeri, I thought that might have had the most there. but it just didn't. So 13k, there was a lot, and it was almost matched when you're having a look in comparison, but it just turned into way more kills for Order. That being said, the amount of times that Zillion ult just pulled them back, right, Rusty, was just a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, there's a couple of things here for me as like key takeaways for Direwolves, right? They had a lot of learnings. Zillion just diffused them. That's the biggest one. Like, no matter what, it was Zillion into LeBlanc, Rise bans, and Kyosei suffered. And I think Direwolves show that if Kyose's suffering, the team can't really win. It's very hard to play around that fact, and then they just really did get out mechanics in a lot of ways and struggled to find those plays and make them happen when their opponents are just relaxing. You know, if it's not a chaotic game, how do Direwolves actually get that in? They did struggle a bit.
Yeah, and I think you said it perfectly in the cast as well, right, Russ? The fact that that game was so slow to start off with, and Order were perfectly happy with that being a slow kind of game, and it just got to a point where they were able to just snowball some of those team fights. But Mac, as you said, experience for the Direwolves guys, but also a big checkbox here for Order going forward in the rest of the playoffs, right? They shake off a bit of that rust, as we said, playing through a lot of this sickness, really being able to earn themselves this week off, and now they can come back next week 100%.
Yeah, that's what they're pretty much playing for. I think they're pretty lucky, actually, that they managed to come through in that 4th position, and they didn't have to play that 2nd and 3rd game and then maybe play again tomorrow. I guess, look, it's a weird way to say it, but at the same time, they need that time, they need that rest, they need to heal up, because they need to be playing their A games if they want to take down Peace. Even though the Peace we saw today, they weren't bad, they weren't terrible. It's just that PGG seemed to hit that next level just as we're going into playoffs. So I think Direwolves today, they played well. They definitely did deserve to be here. You know, not what Corporal said. They are the team that deserve to be here. If you look at the other 3 teams, it's like, who else could have been here, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the real question, right? We have 5 teams that go into playoffs, and we need to fill those slots somehow. And I think Direwolves certainly did show that these guys are here to party, and I think for even next split as well, they're going to come back even stronger. But Kitty, we'll bring you back into the conversation as well, so we can have a chat to you about their series.
Guys? Are we just ignoring the fact that Zillion did the most damage at 14k with Banshees and Everfrost?
He's just built diff.
Well, someone else that's built diff is Corporal, so let's bring him in for the interview tonight. So Corporal, congrats on the win. Your smack talk was actually backed up by a clean 3-0 tonight, so how are you feeling?
Really good. I mean, yeah, I like smack talking before the game, but I feel like afterwards it kind of like goes against the spirit of competitiveness, so I don't really like have too much to say. I mean, like, I think they did good for what they can show, and I think they played the early games pretty well, so I was like impressed by, especially game 2. I think they played good.
Well, we actually saw Order pull a lot of the trigger for these team fights with the engage on the Ornn. So who actually makes these game-winning calls?
I think we kind of just take turns. Like, whoever sees the angle just kind of calls it, and we all just trust in each other to follow the calls. I think that's something that we lacked from regular season was the trust in each other, and I think we've started to like come into our own more because we're like following up on teammates and trusting that we know what.
Trust is definitely something you build over time, but you guys are going against Peace next week. After seeing their performance tonight, how are you feeling going into next week?
I think we're gonna shit on them. I don't know. Like that's all I'm really gonna say. Like I don't know. Like they got 2-1 to a Gravitas. I'm not losing to them.
Well, hopefully we do see you shit on them, but everyone performed extremely well on Order tonight. So if you were to give MVP to one of the players, who would you actually give it to?
I think I'd give it to Kisei. I think he stepped up really nice tonight. So yeah, I was proud of his performance, and I think he definitely deserves it. Or actually, maybe Puma. I don't even know. Like it is kind of hard because I think Puma actually played really well too. So, but I think I'd probably give it to Kisei.
Alright, here that producers Corporal said Kisei, so let's give Kisei the MVP. Alright, well, thank you, Corporal, for your interview tonight. Hopefully you get a good night's rest, and see you next week.
Thank you, yeah, I will. It's well deserved.
Best of 5 send Kitty off the deep end, I think, at this point. You know, we did pretty well to get through 2 best of 5s without getting rid of our swearing allowance, and now it's been blown at the end of the broadcast. So unfortunately, Mac, you can't go on your little tirade to finish off the broadcast. But I mean, I think it's always good when you have somebody who, you know, talks a little bit of smack and then is still able to kind of reel it back and give props to the guys who did it. And I think, Mac, this is a... I mean, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like it is a competition, and the fact that they came in and Order did say that they're a best of 5 team, but Direwolves came up, they played today, and unfortunately, it just wasn't their day.
Yeah, I think the main thing was Order backed up the smack talk. If you do the smack talk, I'm thinking of like a Lived, not to call anyone out, but he'll always come in with the smack talk, and Kanga, it didn't quite go well for them a lot of times this split. So that was a little unfortunate, but that's just an example, right? And Order, look, the gauntlet technically doesn't exist anymore, but if there is a team running the gauntlet, like they are on the route, trying to make the lower bracket run, which in my mind is that gauntlet, so to speak. That's essentially what a gauntlet was.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to be a rough road for them to get there. And I guess, Kitty, before we start setting our sights on next week and even tomorrow, how do you feel like the Order and Peace that we saw from today, how they're going to stack up in their next best of 5?
Well, they both have something in common, which is that they're a little bit sick. So hopefully they do get better for next week's game. But if Peace does decide to pick up their match, I guess, they will definitely look a lot stronger compared to tonight. But to be fair, PG has been proven to be one of the best teams in the league. So Order being a lower ranked team, it might go more even. And I don't actually know who's going to win.
I mean, I guess the question for us now, Rusty, is do we feel like we're actually going to get more than 3 games out of all these best of 5s?
I mean, if LCO history has shown us anything, mate, we're just getting 3 games. You good luck picking a side, but we're just getting 3 games. It's whoever shows up on the day. But yeah, I actually am with Kitty. I can't pick a winner for that and for what is the grand final preview in my eyes tomorrow as well, right? There's absolute bangers, and I just don't know who's going to win them.
Yeah, it's going to be wild for us to see how that really does pan out, because I think it is going to be a tale for a team that looked pretty indomitable through the entirety of it, and then a team that hits a whole lot of form. And Mac, I'm glad that you decided to drink your lovely cold brew there from Dare Ice Coffee, because it is time for our Dare MVP here, and it is going to be Puma this time around. So unfortunately, Kitty weren't able to give it to Kisei this time around. And Puma, I mean, the fact that he was able to do so much work in that bot lane and just really kind of carry his team back. He's been one of those linchpins for Order for a long time, and I think he's been a really consistent and strong player throughout the entire split as well.
And look, I've been speaking to him, and he told me he loves a good Dare cold brew iced coffee as well. So, look, he's a winner in all regards, not only today, not only for the MVP, but he's just chosen the perfect coffee to drink. Look, if I had to have my choice, it's definitely this, and if I had to have my choice of MVP, it's definitely Puma. The amount of times he dug the team out as well. Like, even in that first game where Direwolves had everything going for them, the man was the hero that saved the day. And it not only turned the momentum in one game, it turned it into momentum going across all 3 games, because Direwolves, they could not pull themselves back after that.
Yeah, I think that was a big one, that game number 1 there for Order, really be able to swing the momentum. But before we start saying sayonara to everybody here on the broadcast, we've got one last thing to start talking about. It is the play of the day. And now, this time around, Mac, you haven't been told this one, I'm not quite sure. So, you guys, what do you think it is?
Yeah, how's your memory, Mac, now that you don't know it?
Yeah,
which game was it?
It was the...
Testing.
No, I had one.
Mm-hmm.
I had one.
Yep. Yes,
I can't remember what it is now. Oh, this is hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm going to say...
It's really hard when you can't remember the games.
Oh, it's probably one of the aces, but I think
Can we get a hint
individual
from
mechanics... there was something we saw in that first
It was
game.
in the last series.
Was it the first game's last team fight then?
First game's last team fight?
The fight at the Baron
fight?
with Puma next to the blue buff wall with Kisei clutching it out. It's literally just a Kisei highlight reel.
Yep. You guys are 100% correct. It is going to be the Baron Burger flip for game number 1 here between Order as well as Direwolves. I mean, it was a big momentum shift, right, Mac? The fact that we're able to go through that, and this is where the turning point was, and I think it is a little homage to our good friend Juves. Maybe you might be able to play-by-play this one a little bit hyper this time.
Do we have it twice?
Yes, we
do.
should.
Okay, we're just taking stock. So
The beat drop.
Yep, Zillions,
Get it in.
a couple of beat drops. Direwolves doing not great. Order doing pretty good. Yep.
That's true.
And then the chase is on. Okay, all right, so
Good show.
write all that down. All right, here we go. All right, into the pit zone it goes. Man's coming in a little bit too late. Gets that Hextech ultimatum off just at the wrong moment. And Goodo, he's hunting for Puma, but Puma going golden. Breaks that stopwatch. And then just like that, Frost and Bulldog right out of this one. You're looking for a burger flip, and Man's got a cheeseburger. Make it a bloody triple with that. Oh, you want a side of fries? Well, Frost is just there. He's looking pretty frosty, so you want to put them in the deep fryer first, my friend.
Yeah, not bad, Mac. Not bad. I respect that. At least we were able to get towards the end there. I respect the burger flip. Synonyms that you had floating around in there. I do respect that. Good job. Well done.
A couple of pickles. Big fan of pickles. Put those on.
I mean, that whole play of the day.
Though.
Yeah, there was no true plays.
I didn't want to do Jews. You know, I wanted to try to
not make his own identity.
I miss him.
All right.
I do miss him.
All right. I think everybody on the desk does miss Mr. Jews. But without him here, we still have a bracket to start to talk about. So let's go and have a look at it here for the end of day number 1 on our playoffs of 2022 for Split 1. This is how it stands. Unfortunately, Kitty, we did have to say goodbye to the Direwolves today. 3 O's across the board for everyone, but setting up tomorrow and next week for some banger matches.
Well, I got my prediction wrong. I went with a 3-1 to DW, and they sadly got 3-0, so my bad on my end. So did Skimmy, so we're both going down, so we're still tied, so that's okay. But the banger of the week is going to be Chiefs and PG. Like Rusty said, it's going to be a preview of the finale of Split 1, so I'm excited for tomorrow. And I did interview, I believe it was Tally. I was like, if once you guys play the best of 5, which is tomorrow, will the results actually affect your mental towards the finals? And they were like, no, it's okay. Definitely won't be affected. So I think the loss tomorrow to whichever team won't be that much of a problem. But Peace and Order, they only have 1 chance left. And from these performances that we saw today, I still don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, I think that's a big question mark for next week, is about which team really is going to come out on top. But I think, before we do close the show out here, Mac, we've got Chiefs as well as Pentanet, and I think whoever loses that, they're still going to be pretty confident to go in that lower bracket to try and make it back to the grand final.
Yeah, well, look, we saw Peace do it at the end of last year. They had the bounce back buff, and they might be able to do it here as well. I know Chiefs, I'm expecting them to take this W tomorrow, but at the same time, Pentanet played out of their damn minds today, and let's see if this best of 5 territory is truly Pentanet territory.
And we'll see. We'll have to wait for that, ladies and gentlemen, because it is the end of the day here on Monday. You guys have to come back same time, same place tomorrow for another best of 5 to determine who's going to be going in that grand final and who's going to be going to the lower bracket. I'd like to thank everybody for welcoming me with open arms here to the League of Legends broadcast for the LCO. I had a fun time here. I hope everybody at home. All right, hug. All right. Hug. All right. We're gonna hug, and as I say goodbye to everyone, it's been a wonderful time here on the LCO. I hope you guys had fun at home. I had fun, and I'll see you guys same time, same place tomorrow. I've been Fluke, and as always, stay safe. We'll see you guys for the next one.
Potential collapse upon in the team fight as they've been caught running away straight into their side of the jungle. Beats is deleted. And that's all they need as Lisa's down to 30%. Yuri's teasing the idea of another kill. He lands the charm max. He really does it.
This
Ari. Summon the Herald. It's over. Internet with the perfect trio.
Drake is up and sold on the platter. Now Kevy, he's gone in yet again. But we do see Direwolves jumping straight onto Order. Puma, man's gone golden. He's got that bloody Zillow yet again. But it's gone back the other way. There is just health bars depleting everywhere. And it looks like Direwolves may be coming out a little healthier. Deleting Order, and it might just be the first ace of the game. Kevy is gone. Bounty going across as well, but we have to see Direwolves jumping in. They don't want to go down without a fight. All of a sudden, Zoranus, he's going to be melted with the Hextech ultimatum. Blocks a few of the members into place. Kudo continues to heal himself. Goes golden to stay alive. Bulldog, Frost, they're disengaging. Their health bars are so low, trying to save the rest of the boys. But Order have made this one work, at least for the damn moment. There goes Kudo, finally, and maybe another bounty going into the hands of Order. Is this what we've been waiting for? They were 5k gold just before, and there is the base. They're thinking about it. There's nothing that can stop the Rusty in game number 1 off the back.
Hey, look, Menulog.
Made a bit of a switch up in their support role to open up game number 1 here. Bulldog is back once again here for the Direwolves.
Oh! Can you hear that? The dog is back, ladies and gentlemen. And look, I don't know if it's going to be a good thing or a bad